Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end, and thus, as we just put one season of the Bluegrass iRacing series to bed, this evening we wake another up. Welcome, race fans, to PitStop TV. As usual, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter tonight. I've got Joe Donahue on the call with me this evening. We got Trey Shuttlesworth on social media coverage. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV, and this is PitStop TV's live coverage of the Bluegrass iRacing Series Season 2 season opener at the virtual Daytona International Speedway in the virtual Daytona Beach, Florida. An idea born in 1953 now sits before us all in all of its fruition, now being widely regarded as one of the most hallowed racing venues in all of the world. The Daytona International Speedway is everything to NASCAR, IMSA, and so many more, becoming NASCAR's Super Bowl and the 24-hour race that competes with Le Mans as the world's most prestigious. Joe, Daytona means so much to so many people, and as a season opener for many racing series, oval and road combined, Daytona is a race frequently contested by many of these drivers. Yet, the desire to win here never diminishes. It really is that special.
Absolutely right about that, Andrew. There's so many big races that come here, not only because when we start up the racing season every year, Florida is the most adamant climate to have a race, but also just the history of Daytona and all of the famous names who've won here. Mario Andretti, Dan Gurney, AJ Foyt, big names from the past and even into the present, names like Jimmy Johnson and Matt Kenseth that have won here and have put their names into the history books. Daytona means so much and is just part of what we see when we start a new racing season, especially with these stock cars. And for the Bluegrass guys to come back again, start this season off the same place they did last time, giving them a great chance to put some interesting stuff out there for us in this first race of the season here in Season 2. Some new names, some old names coming back, trying to win this race is always exciting. It's going to be a cool race, and hopefully everybody keeps it clean and races it out to the end, because if they get to that last lap, it's going to be an exciting finish.
We've seen our fair share of exciting Daytona finishes and just races in general. Many a time here on PitStop TV, we're ready to add yet another to that list. And if you go back to the previous race here for the Bluegrass iRacing Series, things are rather exciting in some other ways as well. We had some fuel mileage battles, if I do recall correctly, in the season opener, and things were just very odd. It was very interesting, a very different Daytona race to open up the season, but now we come back with a season under our belts, a season under these drivers' belts. You can see them on the racetrack getting warmed up and getting ready to go for 100 laps. That's 250 miles here at Daytona International Speedway. And currently, actually, Scott Fritz is atop the practice charts. But of course, Joe, that means so little when you come to a place like Daytona, because anything can happen in these practice sessions. It is not always indicative of what's going to happen in the race, of course. Now, you can work on your draft battles, you can work on different moves and how to race in a pack, but as far as the speed charts themselves, it means so little come race time.
Yeah, and part of that with practice is whether or not you link up with other cars. You see a couple of these guys out here as we follow a couple of them around the track. Some of them run alone during these practice times just to get a feel for the car and a feel for the track. Other guys come out and they bump draft and they try to get a hold of what it's like to run in a pack. So practice isn't just the fastest lap, and it never has been. And for these guys to be, putting up laps on the board, obviously, we watch that and we want to see how it goes, but restrictor plate racing, it's not really about the lap times. It's about getting through the carnage and getting through the longevity of the pack race that we're expecting. And so for these guys to come back in Season 2, like you said, last time we came here, it was the first time. It was the first race of the Bluegrass iRacing Series, so a little bit of a game to figure out how we're going to run this series, how the races are going to go out, and from the driver's standpoint and from the official side. But a whole season underway, everything's gotten worked out, we're ready to go, and we're anticipating this one to be a really good, exciting race.
Yeah, we've added quite a few names, as you kind of alluded to there, Joe, and A lot of new names, a lot of new faces going to come together this evening. We'll see how it all works out. Of course, the first couple races in these seasons, we expect a few more cautions than usual. We expect a few more incidents, a few more silly mistakes, because everybody's getting back into a season groove. Everybody's getting back into learning one another and figuring out each other's tendencies. So a lot of things are going to change in these first couple of races from when we left things off at Kentucky and Bristol, the finale and All-Star race respectively. Before we get into this evening's activities, however, let's of course take a look at the Daytona track map. Now, we started doing this for ovals recently. You don't really need one to get around the racetrack, but it's good to talk about the banking here at Daytona. And I recall the line being that if Dale Earnhardt could stack it higher, they would have. I think that's actually Texas, but I think it would go here as well. Because 31 degrees, it seems like a lot, but I believe we've got 33 degrees. We got 36 degrees at Bristol and Talladega, respectively, or maybe it's the other way around. Regardless, we can go higher. I'm actually kind of surprised that Daytona is only 31, and in the reconfigurations we've had here, we haven't actually gone higher.
Yeah, but part of that also, you have to account for how large the track is. You don't need as much banking when corners are a little bit less intense in terms of radius. So it's still a heck of a feat. And I know personally I've stood aside the banking here in Daytona in person and gotten to see it with my own eyes. It's still crazy how much banking there is and how steep it is up that hill. So for how big this track is, for how long the radius of the corner is, and just to have that same number of banking, it's still quite a feat, and it still produces some pretty exciting stuff.
Now, when you get down to the tri-oval, it's not technically a corner, but it is kind of like a fifth corner, if you will, here at Daytona and so many other tracks on the NASCAR's schedule. I mean, it is a turn. You have to turn in the tri-oval, and it really, when you get down there and you're in the driver's seat, it feels like you're still loading up into a normal corner. It's only 18 degrees, a little more than half of the turns 1, 2, 3, and 4 here at Daytona, so it's a little bit less, and that's actually what we're going to see some drivers maybe get a little bit squirrely down there in the tri-oval. There's not as much banking to lean on, but also you got to be very, very careful to not get the apron, as we see so many drivers do here at Daytona. They're all trying to peak one way or the other, trying to find what's working for them or what's going to work and try and master the pushes and the runs and everything else. You got to be very, very careful of not getting that apron through the tri-oval. It will make a car very loose. You'll de-wedge very, very quickly, and you will go for a spin. We'll go over some of the practice times right quick, because some of them have actually changed right here in the last couple of moments, Joe. And John Kinder now sits atop the practice charts. Joshua Abbey in second. Justin Winters. They were all, I believe, in similar groups. I think they were in a couple of separate groups, but very close in the racetrack. They just set those lap times. Scott Fritz now drops to fourth. Travis Miller in fifth. You see one of the newcomers, the first newcomer actually on this list, Michael Ogzet in the sixth position in the number 81 car. Wyatt Brackett's up there. Wes Wiggin now in the 88, not the 188. You also see Justin. I don't know where he got Jason Winters. Justin Winters in the 52 car, not the 88. Brandon Young in the 25. He's a newcomer. And Alan Dobbs as well. He rounds out our top 10. A lot of things changing here. Maybe a changing of the guard as well on the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that Daytona is a really great place to start these guys off, because everybody's pretty much running at the same level. And even for the old guys and the new guys, obviously your rookies are going to be taking a little time to get up to speed. But in terms of a track that's more technical, maybe some more experience would pay into your favor. Daytona isn't really that kind of a place. It's so big and it's just flat out the whole time. It's all about strategy, and obviously there's still experience involved with not wrecking, but with the way that everybody's just going to be flat out throughout the course of the race, it gives these guys a good chance to bring some of the rookies into battles with guys like Travis Miller, your season 1 champion, Wyatt Brackett, Wes Wiggin, other guys who ran the entirety of the first season. And then you get somebody like Michael Ogzet, who's in 6th place from practice standings. Gives them a really great chance to shake it up and get comfortable with each other.
We also see a plethora of new paint schemes out on the racetrack, of course, to go with the new drivers, but also the returning drivers. In fact, we've got one here on screen. Adam Lancaster in a brand new number 28. You see Worthington, a new number 113 as well. There's Justin Winters in his new number 52 car. Still got the Allen's Body Shop branding atop his car, but a lot of things changing. In fact, I see Badass Beard Care on the side of the 52 car. We've talked about Badass Beard Care before in the LTAC Cup Series, so that's pretty cool to see them on a new vehicle here PitStop TV. We have a new newcomer here in the number 89 car, Dennis Orth. He's drafting right now with one of the new Dirt Track Junkies drivers in the number 01. I believe that is Dakota Shepard, and the 113 of Worthington there. Nathan Maurer makes his return. Doug Neal, he's a newcomer. He's out here. He's actually drafting with Maurer. I wonder if those guys are teammates. I'll have to watch for that here in just a little while. But first, we have qualifying.
Yeah, so they're going to run them out in 15 minutes here, single car, just to get everybody set up for this one. And qualifying isn't quite as important in the long run of this race. Obviously, like we said, it's going to be a pack race throughout this one. And starting in the middle of the pack isn't really where you want to be. You want to try to avoid incidents as much as possible throughout the evening. But aside from maybe starting on pole or compared to starting in the middle of the field, qualifying doesn't really show us necessarily who's going to be the top dogs front and back throughout the way of the race and where they're going to be running for the event. It definitely changes strategy, but well, it'll still be exciting and interesting to see. But in terms of the longevity of who's going to be at the front at the end of this race, you can't really draw any cards quite quick.
No, just like practice speeds, qualifying speeds are not going to be very indicative of who's going to be fast and who's not. It's just who can go out there and hold a pretty wheel. So actually, that is relatively important when you come to think about it, because it's very, very imperative that you hold a pretty wheel here at Daytona International Speedway. Doesn't matter if you're a single car, doesn't matter if you're in a pack, you've got to make sure you hold that car steady. So if you are able to do so, that is super important. We see a race car here on the racetrack. It's no longer the number 8 of Nick Mills. It's now the number 46 of Nick Mills, and aboard his number 46 this evening is Mills Insurance Agency. They are the presenting sponsor of this evening's race, and I believe will be for more races the rest of the season. But Mills Insurance Agency is a locally owned independent insurance agency with one priority: you. Owner Nick Mills' ultimate goal is to provide a stable, professional, and competitive environment to find every client the protection they deserve. Located in Richmond, Kentucky, offering auto, home, business, and life insurance throughout Kentucky. Check out Mills Insurance Agency at It's kind of hard to explain exactly what the web address is. We'll have to include it for next week. But basically, Mills, INSKY. So if you think about it, Mills Insurance in Kentucky.com. So again, Mills, INSKY.com. And I want to thank, of course, Rims One and the Ghostface Beer Lab for coming aboard this season as well. They were great supporters last season, giving out awards to drivers who were able to, if you're Rims One, lead it halfway. If you're Ghostface, basically the hard charger, whoever made up the most positions throughout the race, got an extra bonus as well. So I want to thank all of them for their support. Of course, our sponsors as well: Tucson Sound Art, Permanent Makeup in Crywin, Maine, and Whiplash Media. We'll talk about more with them after qualifying. But Joe, we're starting to see some of those qualifying times roll in, and up top, it's actually a newcomer, Bryce Hunter.
Yeah, so for the moment, Bryce Hunter holds the fastest lap, and actually the guy in behind him in the number 24, Cameron Parker, is another rookie. Nick Mills, the furthest up of the experienced drivers who we've seen so far, but you're actually seeing as more and more people put in their lap times, it's still going to continue to be these new guys. Ryan Smith, this would be Gary Jazorski in the number 18 in 4th place, and now we got Mitch Smith going to the top of the board in the number 8 car. So right now we're seeing a lot of the new names that we haven't talked about. Obviously, they haven't been in the series yet. The newcomers are going to the top of the boards at the moment.
Again, a lot of things are changing here for the Bluegrass iRacing series, possibly a changing of the guard once we get to some of these more skill-intensive racetracks. I say that, but we'll talk about the fact that Daytona does require skill. Of course, if you're Kyle Busch, it's not a real racetrack, but Daytona certainly requires a lot of skill. It's just different skill as opposed to a place like Atlanta, a place like Richmond, racetracks like that, because it is pretty much wide open, and just find the best line that's going to give you the best run at the cars ahead. That is the biggest thing here at Daytona. Of course, you got to avoid wrecks. You got to recognize different trends within the field of cars that you're racing against. But at its essence, it's pin the throttle and just turn.
Well, it's a very different skill than some of the other tracks we've come out to. Obviously, like you said, it's not about the technicality of driving the track, but it is rather the skill of understanding your competitors and being right strategically in where you put your car, running the top line or the bottom line, where you decide to run for the middle parts of the race, things like that, that it makes it a very different challenge to these guys than say going to a short track like Bristol or going to an oval like Texas. It's a whole different ball game, and some of these guys might be good at it, some of them might not be. Definitely going to be a learning experience for people who have never done it before, especially here in Bluegrass. But it's still a skill set you need to have, and you need to be able to do it if you're going to compete tonight. So it'll be cool to see who has it and who doesn't, who learns over the course of the race. But I certainly wouldn't, as much as I would say it's not a track that's technical in itself, it's definitely technically run, and you have to be very strategic about what you do.
Could not agree more. We're seeing cars continue to roll out onto the racetrack over their 15-minute period to do so, set their lap times. Ryan Kendall currently on screen. He's going to come around and complete his first lap here momentarily. Scott Fritz also on the racetrack. He'll complete his first lap this time by. We'll see where the driver of the number one goes. And Scott Fritz will head up to, 21st position out of 21 cars. I think that first lap just to try and get set up for his second. That's the money lap, of course, in Daytona and Talladega qualifying. Matt Trineri on the race course as well. The number 62 car in position 17. He'll look to change that this time by the stripe. Well, under 9 minutes to go now in this qualifying session. These guys do just get their couple of laps, however. 9th place for Trineri, so he's going to pop up into the top 10 at least momentarily. Corby Daniels finishes up his qualifying run. He's 12th. Tyler Reed out there as well. Scott Fritz still 22nd, but he's coming out of turn 4 this time by.
Yeah, so Scott Fritz, we got used to him driving the number 100 machine last season, but in the number 1 car, he came across the line, and he does go to the top just barely over Travis Miller, so the older names are starting to come up to the top. Maybe they waited out the qualifying session a little more, and we just saw more of the rookie names come through because they went out first. We're watching the 68 car on screen as he's coming out of turn number 4. Again, he's coming to the line. We'll see if we can get a name on this number 68 for me. I apologize on that. There you go. So to the line, and yes, so he puts his lap time in, goes 4th quick, and it's not too bad. Obviously, like we said, it's not, you don't need to necessarily be at the top of the leaderboards, but certainly starting in row 2 wouldn't be a bad start at all.
No, we say qualifying doesn't matter, but it's always nice to go out there and set a good lap time, and it's always, it's fun. It feels good to do good in whatever you're doing. That doesn't sound all that, I guess, intelligently worded, but you get the point. It always feels good to succeed in whatever you're doing. Doesn't matter what it is in life. And when it comes to Daytona qualifying, it's the exact same thing. You want to do well. You want to qualify up at the top. That said, in Daytona Talladega qualifying, it doesn't feel nearly as bad if you don't. It doesn't feel nearly as bad if you're out there and qualify dead last 10 seconds off pace because it's Daytona. All you got to do is sit in the draft, and you'll at least hold yourself in a decent position. However, as we talk about, at its essence, it's mashing the throttle, turning. But to do well, to get up there and win these races 9 times out of 10, it's going to take specific skills to Daytona and Talladega, and that's why it's such a nice wild card race. It's nice to see who can put those skills on display that are going to differ entirely from places like Kentucky, Atlanta, Auto Club, and etc.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a lot more of a mind game, and it shows what's going on inside your head.
200-mile-an-hour chess.
Where, yes, 200-mile-an-hour chess. Good quote from Andrew. It's a game that you have to think through in your mind. You have to be consciously aware of what you're doing. You have to be thinking about the consequences of your actions, more so than a track where you set your car up to run faster than the other guys. You don't have that opportunity really here. You can't make your car go faster at a restrictor placed track. You have to be smarter about how you get up there, and for the guys who have the intelligence and the wherewithal to do the right things to put their car at the front at the end of the race to win it versus getting up front and falling back, that sort of situation, it's very interesting, and that's what makes Daytona and Talladega special, is that for us those races are very much based around your abilities as a driver, your intelligence as a driver to do well.
Brandon Robertson onto the racetrack now. He's running through 3 and 4 to get up to speed and turn his first lap hearing about elapsed time. I also saw Matt Grenier headed out to the race course. These guys out of Team New England trying to get their laps up here momentarily. Now, usually in an official iRacing session here at Daytona, you're only going to have 5 minutes to set your time, and these guys still have 5 minutes to go. So there's still plenty of time for them to get those laps in and set a worthy qualifying time when the track is cooling down. Now, usually that's going to mean a ton. At any racetrack, it's going to mean a ton for the sun to go down and the racetrack to cool down means things are going to grip up. However, I'm not so sure exactly how that's going to play into Daytona qualifying. I would imagine it's still going to make these cars go faster, but you may actually want a little bit of temp out on the racetrack.
Yeah, well, you want it. Obviously, there's a perfect operating, a quote-unquote, at least, perfect operating temperature for the surface of the track. And one of the factors about that, obviously, as well, is just how long the track is. It's not really about your ability to get the most out of the track. It's just kind of you run your lap because it's so long. But as the track cools down, the grip's going to go up. And while that doesn't really play as much of a factor maybe for qualifying, obviously it would, but not to a very significant effect. Over the course of, say, a race, it would have a little more effect as, you start to have more grip and people might start to get a little bit more aggressive because they'd be able to hold on to their cars at more aggressive speeds. For qualifying itself, though, in this sort of situation, maybe not. Obviously, there's going to be some gain when the temperatures cool down. Track gets a little bit nicer and grippier, but overall, I don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to say because these things always turn into crapshoots. It's difficult to tell if there's a big difference between night and day when it comes to qualifying. Brandon Robertson, though, qualifying as the sun is going down, goes to third place. We'll see where Grenier goes, and he goes to 8th, so they actually did decently well. Out of 25 cars, they go up into the top 10 each, so that's pretty solid from those Team New England drivers. Now, of course, I mentioned a little while ago we'd talk more about our personal partners here at PitStop TV, so let's do so now. Wait for some more cars to hit the racetrack. Of course, want to talk about Tucson Sound Art, your picture, your music. We talk about these guys a lot, and quite simply, it's just a really cool concept. I've got one on my wall. It's a Bluetooth speaker that's within a really cool canvas frame, and just like they say in the commercial that we play for these guys, you can take any moment from your life that means a lot to you. As long as it's captured in an image, you can put it on a Tucson Sound Art device, and you can hang that up on your wall. The sizes vary. The prices, of course, vary with it, but the good news is if you use promo code PitStop TV, you can get 10% off of your order, so you can maybe even go up to a higher price and still get a pretty good deal. To a higher size, a higher price, and still get a good deal with that 10% promo code. Of course, when it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy. And at Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, the owner, Ashley Bullier, is a certified micropigmentation specialist who provides professional, safe, and personalized services. You can contact Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine at permanentmakeupinmaine.com or call or text them at 207-358-8683. If you're looking for the best solutions for your permanent makeup concerns, give them a call today to book a consultation. And of course, we talk about their monthly giveaways. Head over to their Facebook page, Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, to enter and maybe even win one of those giveaways. We also want to thank Whiplash Media. The plug that we have written down still says the new parent organization, but just the parent organization that specializes in various sim racing resources, including paint schemes, stream overlays, iRacing, camera packs like the one you're looking at right now. That looks stunning with that sunset as well, and more. Whiplash Media is also working on its presence in real racing, offering services like photography, social media management, and public relations. Go to whiplash-media.com for more information. A little over a minute left, not too many cars hitting the racetrack here. We're still at 25 that are qualified and nobody else out on the track.
Yeah, these laps that they turn, you definitely could get out by now and try to turn a lap, but some of these guys might be pulling a strategy here, just trying to start at the back of the pack and expect the yellow and try to be patient and calm at the beginning of this race. You can't win a race in the first turn, but you sure can lose it. So a lot of these guys that are sitting at the back, a lot of names we know, obviously it's Nick Noggle, Daniel Worthington, drivers who have been in this series from last season, that maybe they're trying to be smart about qualifying setup, but we're running out of time now, so now we're getting to the point where you're not going to get a time in if you come out.
No, at this point, of course, it is much too far gone. Only 24 seconds left here in qualifying. Basically, we've got what we've got as far as the 25 drivers who have qualified. There are plenty more, however, 18 more, in fact, that have not qualified, but will be starting tonight's event. It gives us a 43-car field, and that is... Oh, man, that's something. 43 cars to Daytona, of course. Now, NASCAR even limits it to just 40. So, to fill out an entire field like this is going to be something special for the Bluegrass iRacing Series. And cannot wait to see how it all goes. Joe, how about you walk us down our top 10 on the starting grid?
Right on, so we'll pull that up on screen for you guys right now. Your pole sitter for race 1 of season 2 is going to be Scott Fritz in the number 1 machine. To his outside will be the reigning champion of the series, Travis Miller, in the number 22 Ford. Row number 2 starts off on the inside with Brandon Robertson. He won races last season rather. He will start third on the inside of Mitch Smith, the highest starting rookie, in the number 8 machine. Rounding out your top 5 on the inside is going to be Ryan Kendall in the number 68 machine, and to his outside will be a rookie just like him, the number 51 of Casey Barlow. Starting it off on the inside of row number 4 is going to be Bryce Hunter in the number 9 machine, and to his outside, a name we know very well, the Snap-on Ford number 15, Matt Grenier. Rounding out your top 10, starting in the 9th position, the number 12 machine of Hunter Holberg, and on his outside, the Alline 48, that's Jack Bauer.
Starting in 11th, it's Alan Dobbs in the number 3. Another rookie to his outside, the number 24. Those are iconic numbers right there to be starting side by side. The number 3 and the number 24 at Daytona, 11th and 12th. 13th position going to go to Ryan Smith, another newcomer, along with Matt Trineri. A whole bunch of rookies here just outside the top 10. Michael Ogzet is going to start from the 15th position. Corby Daniels, we know that name. He's not technically a newcomer to the Bluegrass iRacing Series, but looking to complete his first full season campaign. He'll roll off 16th. Gary Jazorski from the 17th position. John Elliott to his outside. And rolling back to row number 10. To round out the top 20, it's Dennis Orff in the number 89 and Nick Mills in the 46.
Your 21st starting position is going to be Chris LeBourgeois in the number 83, and to his outside is going to be Brian Terry in the 13, 2 names we've heard from Season 1. Starting in 23rd is going to be Alex Brown in the number 37 machine. He's out of Indiana, and to his outside is going to be the number 14 of Tyler Reed. 25th, the number 71, that's Michael Brisson, and on his outside, the number 96, the driver out of the Virginias, Dylan Butler. 27th on your grid is going to be John Kinder, a name we know darn well in this series, and to his outside in 28th, another name we know darn well, almost won the championship in Season 1, came up a little short. The number 52 this season is Justin Winters. Starting it off on the inside of this row in 29th is going to be the 25 of Brandon Young, and to his outside will be the 33 machine of the New Englander, Wyatt Brackett.
We'll quickly walk you to the back end of the field. Adam Lancaster, 31st, and it's Joshua Abbey, 32nd. 33rd goes to Nathan Maurer and Osborne. A lot of returning drivers back here at the back of the field. He'll roll off 34th. 35th will go to Wes Wiggin in the 88. Nicholas Noggle in the 08, 36th. 37th, Ronnie Shirk Jr. in the 7. David Brackett is outside in the 38, starting 38th. In 39th is Daniel Worthington. Dakota Shepard will start 40th. 41st will go to Doug Neal. 42nd will go to CJ Mason, and 43rd on the starting grid will go to Adam Broyles. You see the field coming out of turn 4 for the final time before lighting this thing up. We are ready to start Season 2 of the Bluegrass iRacing Series. We'll stay quiet and let you listen to these motors hum for lap number 1 of the season. Maybe we won't. We've got a massive crash in the back. Never how you want to start a new season. This is big. This is big. try and find exactly where this starts. Oh, and there it is. That's a missed shift out of the driver of the number 24, and that is going to be one of the newcomers, but I don't recall the name, and we're going to have to dig through our list here to find the number 24. It's going to be one Cameron Parker. Oh, man, that's just a bad shift, and it turned the car just completely dead right into the wall there on the starting line. We'll watch it again. Look for that 24. He's already got damage before coming to the line. I think he and the 62 had already made contact, and there it is. That's not what anybody needed. You already see the number 77. He is massively injured here, and he hasn't even completed a lap, I don't think. Doug Neal just trying to get back to the start-finish line and complete lap number 1, I think. It might be completing, well, no, I think he's a lap down. He's just trying to complete lap number 1. He's not going to be able to. He's going to get to his pit box first. Imagine that. You get to your pit box before the start-finish line on lap number 1. Not how any of these drivers want to start their Bluegrass iRacing Series seasons. Well, and you saw, we can't even get all of these cars to load sometimes when there's 43 of them out on the race course. So we didn't even see the entire field come into the back of that. There's so many cars out there that some of these drivers towards the back might not have ever even known what was happening up ahead, and now it's going to trap a lot of cars here behind the pace car. They're going to have to try and get a wave around before we go back green flag racing. So much already changing the dynamic of race number 1, and we haven't even completed a green flag lap yet. Yeah, I mean, you've got to play every single moment of these Daytona races to be able to work it to your advantage to maybe win this thing when it's all said and done. You've got to do everything you can in order to benefit yourself. And I do think we had an audio issue. I don't think these guys were hearing you the last couple of minutes. I'm not sure, Joe, how I ended up with your audio muted, but I think through this entire caution flag period, nobody's heard you. So I apologize, everyone, for that. But I looked down, and Joe had just finished talking and looked down at our audio, and it was muted for some odd reason. So apologies, everybody, for that. But we've got Joe here. I promise I'm not just talking to myself. We do have Joe Donahue here and helping us. Let's also shout out our other man on the crew this evening, Trey Shuttlesworth, on our social media, battening down those hatches and keeping things looking I was going to say funky fresh, and I combined it into one word. Looking fresh on our Facebook and Twitter channels. And, man, we've had a big change up there recently as well, because we had Corey Rexford take over that for most of the weekend. I was away. Trey Shuttlesworth did a great job of backing us up, and wow, 77 just ran right over our camera there in turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, he ran over it without a front bumper too. That was kind of interesting to see. You'd think maybe we'd get some body work back on that car, maybe, but who knows? Maybe he's saving some time on that damage and not using fast repair, trying to be strategic about when he uses that. Yeah, I've been here. Your boy is still chilling. in the race. We're watching these guys get stacked back up. Hopefully, we'll get back to green flag here soon. Maybe the lights go off the pace car. And special shout out to Trey as well. Andrew mentioned he's here with us on social media. He always does a good job. We love our Trey Shuttlesworth. Good guy. Very much appreciate him.
He really is a good guy, isn't he? You see the air temp out there, 70.3 degrees, 71-degree track temp, so just about the exact same. That's because the sun has gone down. We are properly heading into nighttime very, very quickly. You see light in the sky, but really that means nothing at this point. Once the track temp is this close to the air temp, it's full nighttime. The sun is not going to mean anything at this point. The lasting residual light in the sky means absolutely nothing to these drivers. It's just cool for us to look at really at this point. Very calm winds, right around 4.5 mile an hour. You see the pace car lights have come back on. Usually we would have gotten the iRacing green flag by now, but Jason Collins, race director, trying to get everybody packed back together. Of course, when you have these first lap incidents, it actually catches a lot of these cars as having not even started the race, and that causes a scoring error. It puts them a lap down at first, and so it just takes a little bit of work to straighten out, and that's what Jason Collins is quickly learning right here as these guys try and get packed back up and try and get into one cohesive field. A lot of work to be done. Thankfully, we have that in-race admin that can handle that.
Yeah, and that's the really great thing about having a series like this that's run not just off of iRacing's automatic cautions and officiating, but to have Jason here to make that call and to fix the situations like when this arises. And obviously, it's very nice for these guys to keep the racing good for them and keep it fair, keep it realistic. It's just a really great thing for him to be here to do that. And hopefully, he pushed it back, try to get everybody backed up together, keep it bunched up for the restart. But we're looking forward to getting that green flag.
You say that, and we've gotten another delay of green, so we will stay cautioned for one more lap, which means that we can continue just kind of talking here and hanging out. If you've got to pick any one driver, and now this is going to be very difficult because, of course, we have no clue what's going to happen at this point. We thought we knew that we'd at least see Scott Fritz and Travis Miller and some others mix it up at the front, but now we have no clue what to expect the rest of this one. But, Joe, if you had to pick somebody to win this race, 43 options, might I add, who do you pick?
See, now that's really hard. That is a very tough question. If I had to pick one, if you held me to one singular name, a name that sticks out as a persevering, smart, forward-thinking driver from this series that knows how to get through the long haul, knows how to overcome some adversity, and get himself to the front when he needs to, I don't think I'm looking anywhere else but the outside of row number one. I think Travis Miller has proven over the course of season one that he knows how to be smart. He knows how to persevere through any situation you give him. Really, he can pull a third place out of an absolute chaotic, horrible start of a race. Just obviously being the champion from last season, he proved he knows how to drive a car and knows how to do it well. So if you held me to one name in this race, I'd go with the 22 car.
Well, you know what? I think it's funny that you mention him because, not only did he win the championship last season, Joe, but before he'd actually joined our broadcast crew, he won the first race of the season at Daytona. So he would certainly, I think, like to open things back up with another race win here at Daytona International Speedway. It looks like we'll finally go green flag racing the next time by. The pace car lights are staying off. That's great news. And if I had to pick somebody, I would look around this field, and I'm not sure who I'd pick yet, but I'm going to find somebody out here, and I'm going to pick kind of almost out of a hat. And you know what? Somebody who needs some good luck to finally go his way would actually be, that's not right, him right there, the number 83 car, Chris LeBourgeois. He's had such terrible luck, mostly with storms, mostly with hurricanes coming through Louisiana. It would be something if he were able to battle the front end damage that he currently has on his number 83 car and fight to the front and end up claiming Daytona this evening. He's currently in 13th spot. Well, actually, I think that should be 14th once they restart. Something like that. Maybe even 12th. It's hard to say. I think 14th spot once they restart. One car isn't quite in line. He's already towards the front of the field. He's got a good-looking number 83 underneath him. All he has to do is keep things clean. He's got a great chance of doing so. And again, he just needs some luck to go his way. I would actually just pick a name out of the hat almost, go with Chris Bourgeois. He needs a really good feel-good story tonight, and it just might be the I think the way that the cards will fall, it just might work out. We'll have to wait and see, though. We've got 100 laps to go. Well, I guess 94 coming to 93 this time by as we do come around to complete lap number 7. Every lap so far completed under caution flag conditions. We had that misshift there at the start of the race has really halted our progress, but we're ready to put that behind us and go back green flag racing this time. They are green in the Bluegrass iRacing Series, ready to get Season 2 underway.
Out of the tri-oval this time, I think everybody learned a little bit of a lesson about being patient and clean out of it. And Travis Miller jumped down to the bottom side of the racetrack. I talked about, if you're going to talk about somebody with perseverance and adversity, it's that number 22 machine, but he jumped down to the inside line and got a good restart, which he's known for doing. Top side, Mitch Smith and number 8 machine going to try to lead the top line around the outside of the 22. He's got a little bit of help behind him. That's the number 51 machine. You can see the double-sided car with the throwback to Days of Thunder, Casey Barlow on the outside trying to push him to the lead, but Travis Miller holding on with Scott Fritz on the inside.
Whoa, contact, heavy contact for the 8 and the 1 cars. Scott Fritz down on the flat of the 18-degree tri-oval. Brandon Robertson also got out of line right there, made heavy contact with Mitch Smith. Thankfully, they keep racing, but now you can see the left side of that number 8 car pretty well dented up, and that's going to hurt the progress for him trying to lead that outside line. I think he's going to be mostly okay, but it's certainly not how you want to start a Daytona race off, just like everything else we've seen so far in just 9 laps is now he is actually leading down the backstretch. Travis Miller gets now a big run on the inside, and he'll take that lead back.
Yeah, so Miller is holding on the inside, and Matt Grenier actually give him a nice push past Mitch Smith, and the two of them are going to be out front alone with the 2 lines in behind them. But yeah, you talk about Brandon Robertson getting out of it with that little incident that happened right there. Just trying to be smart, trying to be patient, not get yourself into a scenario you can't overcome. Early on in this race, like I said, you can't win a race at the beginning, but you can certainly lose it. Obviously, that's just a long-term strategy move right there. You see Ryan Kendall in the number 68. He's holding on really well in 3rd spot right now on the inside line. It looks like the inside is definitely the place to be. Somebody went down under the double yellow line there. Brandon Robertson was doing the same, just trying to avoid some contact. But right now, the inside line looks like the place to be.
I don't disagree. I think the bottom side is going to be most preferred throughout the rest of the evening. We're just about into full darkness here as Grenier, he looked high, actually, of Miller out of 4, but I don't think he quite had the room. I think he realized that and stayed in behind the number 22 car. Wouldn't he like to lead some laps to open up the season here at Daytona? Mitch Smith now falling back a little bit up on the top side. Casey Barlow still trying to help. Jack Bowers up here. We see the 68. That's Ryan Kendall. 51 car. That's still Casey Barlow. Ryan Smith is up in this front group. Bryce Hunter. Hunter Holberg. A lot of newcomers up here now. You'll see the 68 gets out of line. Ryan Kendall going to the back of the field, it looks like. That's a strategy a lot of these drivers will try and employ. In fact, it's exactly what we saw Travis Miller do on lap number 1 here 1 season ago, and I think that was the biggest moment for him that actually kept him in this race, because literally hundreds of feet later, in turn number 3, there was a massive pile-up, or not a massive pile-up, but there was a caution right where he was running, and he easily could have been in it, but instead, he decided to go to the back of the field, pull down onto the apron, and just get out of it and keep his race alive.
Yeah, and that's something a lot of the guys at the back end of the field are doing, and I think that's a really intelligent move. Obviously, if you're up front, you want to stay there, like Travis Miller and Matt Grenier are doing right now with Mitch Smith to the outside and Casey Barlow. But if you're more further back in the field, you don't want to be in a double 3-wide situation, as we do have a yellow flag coming out now, so we'll get a replay on that and see what happened. But that's the kind of thing you want to avoid, is something where a situation like this arises where there's an incident, and see if you can avoid that. We're riding with Matt Trineri right now. We'll see if we get a replay. What has happened?
And you know what? Since I'd mentioned, we have that problem where not every car renders. I don't think we're going to have a replay on this. With 43 cars out there, it's pretty hard. Even when you have all cars set to draw, sometimes iRacing just pretty much says no, and I don't see where one of these cars was rendered for this. It looks like the number 23 Astro machine of Adam Broyles has damage, but actually he is speeding up from the wreckage, so he might have been in this. We will have it. That's surprising to me, actually, that we have this one, and we can at least see the cause, not necessarily the effect. So we'll go back and we'll see what happens to Adam Broyles and more.
Yeah, so we're watching Adam Broyles right now. He's running behind the number 77 of Doug Neal, who's already had some damage throughout the course of this one. Through the tri-oval down into turn number 1. He's staying on the inside line. Nothing quite going astray yet, but it starts to bunch up right here. And oh yeah, so okay, everybody just bunching up. That was Scott Fritz that they all first ran into. Their all-white machine right behind him, but the speed that they gained from drafting looks like they caught up to the cars in front of them. Some of the guys here, you see the number 28, the number 1, that number 8 on the outside is actually Ronnie Short Jr., who should be who is scored as the number 7 machine. These guys, they catch up to it and they slow up because they have a lot of momentum from being in the draft, and then yeah, they just bunch up really quickly. The number 25 got into the tail of Adam Broyles. That number 25 machine, I'll get that name off of our list, is Brandon Young, so another one of our newer names in this series. And yeah, so that was Scott Fritz getting hit from behind. That's the number 97, or is it the 87?
It's 97 of Maurer, and you can see right here, Scott Fritz is checking up to allow the 81 car into line. He checks up right on the nose of Maurer, and that's the challenge of trying to help your buddy out, but also being in the middle of a line. He checks up to let the 81 in. The 97 doesn't quite, he's not on the same page there of Scott Fritz, of course, and actually runs in the back of Scott Fritz, and that's why we have this caution flag. They all stack up as a result. So Scott Fritz is trying to do the right thing, help his buddy out, but unfortunately, in that kind of a line, trying to get Oxet into line on the bottom side, it causes that stack up.
Yeah, and that's the thing about, especially when you're running in a train, the guy who maybe is 2 or 3 cars behind you isn't going to know that you're checking up to let your buddy into line. So they're not going to be slowing down, and then obviously it's just a train of cars all bunching up and running into each other. But it's just a situation that arises every once in a while, and Nathan Maurer didn't mean any harm by that. So obviously some damage. He's going to have to get repaired on pit lane, but just kind of the way things go, trying to bunch up and let people into line.
It absolutely is. It's a product of racing here at Daytona in a big line like this. 43 cars, a lot can happen very, very quickly, and you just don't have, even though there's tons of room here to put 43 cars and more, they run 60, or at least close to, I think 55 is somewhere around the number they run for the Rolex. They run tons of cars here, and there's room for all of them. However, when you're all trying to race for the same positions, suddenly you run out of room very, very quickly. You could lay out cars around here with plenty of space around one another for days and days and days if you wanted to line them up evenly. But when you start racing them, and when they're all going for those same positions, even for the 43rd back there, you see D. Butler. He's out of this thing. I don't think he's coming back. He's got a ton of damage. Dylan Butler out of this. Cameron Parker as well. Even with 30 cars out here, as soon as they start going from the same pieces of real estate, space is going to run out, and that's exactly what happens there. Scott Fritz is trying to let somebody into the same real estate, and there wasn't quite room. They checked up a little bit too quickly for Nathan Maurer and more, and it just ended up in a bit of an incident.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Over the course of the race, obviously you talk about 30 cars running for the same real estate. That's a pretty big number. That's significant. At the end of the race, too, though, we'll have to watch to make sure it doesn't become a situation where 4 cars run for the same amount of real estate. That's something that at the end of the race we have to deal with. Fortunately, well, maybe not fortunately, but at least we aren't quite there yet that we would expect that sort of situation where 4 cars could make a problem. That's something maybe at a turn number 4 on the last lap we'll watch for. But in terms of the race right now, yeah, 30 cars in such a tight space, and some guys letting off to let each other in line, some guys coming on with a full head of steam, that sort of thing is definitely going to cause an issue. But thankfully, the pace car's coming in, Andrew, and we're going to get back to green flag racing, so hopefully they won't do it again.
Coming to lap 16, we are back green at the inside line with a great restart right there. That's going to launch the 22 and 8 clear of the 15 of Grenier, and Jack Bauer on the bottom side, he'll follow into fourth place. I think he's going to take third as well, as the top side just goes nowhere. Holberg will drop down to the bottom line as well, behind the number 9 of Hunter. And wow, Barlow and Grenier go nowhere on that restart, really going to change things up. And it's also, I think, a product of these guys realizing they've now had 2 cautions. They're not on lap 20 yet. They just want to race.
Yeah, and it's also interesting that Matt Grenier and Travis Miller, they were working together on the inside line through that segment, with Mitch Smith on the outside leading Casey Barlow. But now the tides have turned. Travis Miller and Grenier leading unique lines, with Mitch Smith at Casey Barlow in behind him. Jack Bauer up there as well in the top 5 now. So that'll change it up with who you're running with. And maybe for somebody like Mitch Smith, if he knows Travis Miller's the reigning champion, this is going to give him some opportunity to work with that guy, try to learn from him, stay clean. You know, we're only 17 laps in, and like you said, getting to the end of the race is important for these guys, because that's when you win the race. You don't win the race up until the last lap. So getting there is what they're trying to do right now. So being patient, being smart with the cars, and just trying to run it out right now might be what they decide they want to start doing.
Absolutely. I go back to what I was talking about earlier about how Travis Miller had to make it through lap 1, make it through every lap in particular to get to the end. And quite honestly, if he had not backed out on lap number 1, he would not have won Daytona, and he would not have, I don't think, won the championship last season. That's how important Daytona can be. You look at Daytona as kind of a throwaway race for some, but really, every little thing, every little race, every lap in the season is going to matter to determine a champion. We do have a car up ahead. That's Brian Terry on the bottom side. That's going to make all of these drivers try and funnel around him. You see it holds up. Mitch Smith in the number 8 will follow him as he goes back here. Brian Terry trying to get into the draft. Jack Bauer has to move up to the racetrack. You see Bryce Hunter as well trying to get by, and I think Brian Terry finally catches up to speed, but really shaking things up there. Hunter Holberg all the way up to the wall.
Yeah, Holberg went up, and so did the number 9 machine. But, yeah, you talk about Brian Terry coming in, just being a lap down. He wants to get into that draft because he wants to hold on to the first car a lap down. That would be important for him to try to get back onto the lead lap as soon as possible. Obviously, we're gonna hopefully run out a couple laps here, but if he can just hold on to being that front guy, when we come to the point where we have a caution, or maybe even with some pit stops, he'll be able to benefit from that. So you might have been thinking, why isn't Brian Terry getting out of the way when they came down the backstretch that time? It's because he's trying to be respectful of the guys up front who now have all single filed out for the most part, but he also is trying to think for himself and think about, how am I going to keep myself in contention of this race? Otherwise, he would have just pulled off the track and rode the brakes a little bit and let everybody by.
And of course, that's actually what you're directed to do if you're actually racing here at Daytona. You're directed to hold the bottom side and just hold your line in general. Just be predictable for those drivers coming up behind you. And that's echoed as well in sports car racing, multi-class racing. Just hold your line, be predictable for the faster classes. Just facilitate these passes as safely as you can, and Brian Terry does that. But oh my, John Kinder nearly gets into Ryan Smith. Kinder's trying to get by Brian Terry. He'll now do so. It looks like maybe down the backstretch, maybe not. The Daytona Superstretch not so kind to the 21 car, keeping Brian Terry to the inside. And that's what happens sometimes. Now you have different battles where Brian Terry is not on the lead lap. John Kinder is. They're trying to battle around him. And that 13 car now going to become a nuisance for some. And really, he's just doing what he has to do. He's just holding the bottom side, trying to stay in this lead draft, and he's 1 lap down.
Absolutely, but I'm actually pretty surprised because look at John Kinder just making up a whole bunch of time on the outside line. He's running all alone up there, and you'd think maybe he'd lose some draft speed, but he's actually holding his speed pretty well. He's just side drafting off of everybody aside of him and in front of him to try to make time up, and he's actually done a very, very good job of it. He's into the top 5. He's broken up in there, and he's gunning for more. He's still going from the outside of Mitch Smith through 3 and 4. That number 21 Ford still looking for more positions. He's got the number 12 in behind him, so Hunter Holberg saw the speed the 21 car has, and we know that car has speed too. We've seen him win races this past season, and you just know that John Kinder is going for it right now because he's just tearing up the top line.
He is absolutely making quick work of these drivers ahead. He wants to be the race leader, and more importantly, he wants to be the stage winner. It's actually slipped my mind to mention it, and we have a stage to look forward to here very shortly that's going to pay 10 points to win. He's got to get up there and get some of those points. Those will be very, very important to the rest of the season as well.
Yeah, so the Bluegrass guys, they wanted to start implementing the stage points scenarios like the actual NASCAR Cup Series does, and so that's going to become a big factor in the championship as we continue on throughout the season to be able to get those extra points. John Kinder, who came into the last race of Season 1 having a slim but still a chance at winning the championship, came up a little bit short. Obviously, take what your lessons you learned from Season 1 and implement them on how you're going to progress through Season 2. John Kinder knows that there are stage points now. He knows that there's 10 points available if he can get up to the front quickly. And even riding in third right now, that would be a pretty significant start to the season.
Absolutely, that's 8 points that he can grab. Hunter Hulberg, though, he's going to dip out of line. He's going to let these guys go by. That's not where you want to do it usually. You don't want to do it, and that's why you can't do it into the corner, because if you try and get back up in the middle of the corner, you're going to get loose in the banking. I want to see that again. Hunter Hulberg, there he goes. He dips out of line on the bottom side, and he tries to come back up, it looks like, maybe even doesn't try to, but just ends up doing so with all the speed he's carrying, and that's why you can't do that kind of thing. You've got to be so careful of it. You see these guys still leading up here, and have we lost Travis Miller? It looks like we have.
Yeah, actually, the whole front end of the field looks like it's shook up a little bit. Maybe did they come into the pits? Matt Grenier?
I think so, yeah. We see the 9 and the 8 exiting. Did we have some pit stops last time around looking at that replay? Let's try and find out, I suppose. Yeah, I would imagine so. It's a little bit tough to figure out with cars disappearing and such and de-rendering, but we'll see if we have some more out of turn 4. And yeah, pit stops right here, trying to pit the stage.
Yes, so they're going to short pit this and try to be able to come out at the front when everybody else pits and throughout the stage when other guys come into the pit lane as well. You see Brandon Robertson and Matt Grenier, two veterans of this series, coming down pit lane right now. We're just a quarter of the way into this race, but we got a race leader, Brandon Young, up front, Ed Osborne, Ryan Smith, some names up front that we haven't quite talked about yet in this broadcast, except obviously Brandon Young was part of the one incident just a few laps ago. But to the outside, Ed Osborne, a driver who didn't quite get the big showing performances last season, but he was very consistent and stuck out the season, raced every event, and just a name we know. We know him well in that number 42. Last season he was in the 555 machine, but now he's leading the way here at Daytona in the number 42, leads past the quarter mark, and it would be really great to see Ed Osborne hold it out up front for a little while.
And so these guys racing to the halfway break of the stage that will pay 10 points to the race leader at that point in time. Also, the halfway winner, I believe, still presented by Rims 1, should be $10 as well for these drivers. So very important that these guys get up there and lead at the end of lap 50. Right now, the end of lap 25 does go to Ed Osborne. He leads at the quarter mark, like you said, Joe. And now these guys are trying to figure out exactly what they would want to do as far as fuel strategy. I think it's a pretty cut and dry. You pit once in each half of this race. We've already seen a lot of drivers do that. We see a bunch more doing it here as well. There goes the 91. There goes the 25 down to pit lane. And these guys starting their pit strategy.
Yeah, and I talked about short pitting, but actually when you run out a race like this at a track like this, where having fresher tires isn't really as important, if you run longer, you don't have to fill up your tank quite as much with the same amount of fuel to go to the same next braking point as everybody else on track. So maybe running longer might pay off a little more. You're watching Alan Dobbs in the number 3 lead the way right now, but maybe these guys are going to be able to short fuel a little bit if obviously we get to the stage break and they all come in for the pits and top off on fuel. That would be the type of scenario where Alan Dobbs, Nick Noggle, Ed Osborne, they're going to be benefiting off that. We'll see how long they decide to trek it out here, though. They could have come in for pit stops during those first couple of yellows, so then they'd be able to go quite a bit longer than we're anticipating. But for the moment, it's just all a big strategy game.
And we already talked about this being 200-mile-an-hour chess to see these drivers bombing and weaving down the straightaways, mostly just a single-file line throughout the entire field, currently led by Alan Dobbs up here for the top four of Dobbs, Noggle, Osborne, and Tyler Reed in fourth place, passing some cars up ahead that have already pitted, have already come in for their four-tire and fuel stop, and there goes the 91 of Ryan Smith, I want to say, in the number 91 Ford Mustang. You see Wyatt Brackett, he's got company. He's passing, oh gosh, so many names to try and keep up with. The 37 car, Alex Brown, that's the name. For some reason, the only name I could think of that had Alex and it was Alex Jones. I knew that wasn't right, but Alex Brown, he gets into line back there. Wes Wiggin, David Brackett, Joshua Abbey, a ton of these guys who weren't up front at the start, just staying out, running their own fuel strategy. And, well, if a caution comes out, they're in the catbird seat.
Yeah, and some of these guys even were caught up, or maybe not caught up with major damage, but caught up in the squabble of that very beginning incident of this race. So obviously they're coming through the field, going back through the field. It's all dependent on when you come into the pits. But
there's that
for the
caution.
Moment, and there we have a yellow. So this is going to shake it up very interestingly for the guys who've come in already and the guys who haven't.
And now we got to try and figure out where that happened. And it's hard to say, of course, because, again, cars rendering, de-rendering, it's tough to keep up with sometimes. But we do have a caution flag on the racetrack. And I know we had a lot of pit stops happening, but it's just so hard to say where this might have happened. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we're kind of limited in what we can do as far as the production goes. Unfortunately, we just can't pull every car up.
So we've got a yellow. Not quite sure yet who it was, but what we do know is there are a couple of guys who didn't pit yet, and a couple of guys who did pit. So it'll be interesting to see, are those guys who didn't pit going to come down, get some fresh fuel in that car, maybe get some rubber on it, that's going to progress them through the field with some of the guys who've been out of the pits for a handful of laps, about 5 laps from that quarter mark when we started seeing some of these guys coming in and topping off on fuel. Be kind of an interesting way to offset the strategic moves that were made by the guys who came in at the very start of that spree of pit stops, like Travis Miller, who was leading the way. So here you see these guys leading at the front end of the field. Alan Dobbs, Nick Noggle, Ed Osborne, they're all coming down pit lane. So like I said, there, see if they can offset some of that strategy and keep up with those guys who were further back in the field that did come in earlier, like Travis Miller did, Matt Grenier, those guys, and see if they can maybe not only hold on, but be able to progress back in front of them when they get the chance. Alan Dobbs, you saw him actually slide through his pit box a little bit there, so that's definitely not what he needed in this pit sequence, but he's going to lose some time on pit lane as a result of that. I think Nick Noggle isn't going to quite be able to get around him, so he does stay in front of the guys coming out of the pits. Pretty interesting stuff, but yeah, this we'll see how this strategy plays out when the green flag drops again. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the freshly pitted cars compete against the guys who've got 5 laps under them already.
Well, they are going to pass them. I mean, they just pitted under this caution flag, and now they're up at the front, and they're going to stay ahead of them, if anything. Now, some of those cars will get the chance to stay out, but I think we'll see most of them pit. Most of them take as much fuel as they can to the end here. And you could see some of these guys staying out, but a lot of them are still catching up to the field in the first place. So Alan Dobbs is still third place. He was leading this thing, and him staying out to that caution flag just catapults him in front of everybody else. He still had to pit. Who knows where he would have worked out? Certainly not first place. Now he's third, and that's still pretty darn good. He's going to be able to work with Corby Daniels and Matt Trineri up here. And Matt Trineri actually just left the pit lane. He's got the best case situation. He just completed his pit stop as the caution flag came out. And we'll see what Corby Daniels does here on this next lap by the pit lane. He might pit. If he doesn't, still, Corby Daniels, Matt Trineri, Alan Dobbs, they played this perfectly.
Well, they played it perfectly, or they got really lucky, because I don't know. I mean, obviously, when you go longer during the green flag stints, you anticipate maybe you can get a yellow that'll help you. Maybe you'll be able to do what Alan Dobbs, Nick Noggle just did, and to get all that time just given to you. Or Corby Daniels, Matt Trineri leading the way at the current moment. definitely a good thing for them, but it's also really good. I want to talk about just how cool it is that we've got these new names intermixed, obviously, with Nick Noggle in third, Joshua Abbey in fifth, but we've got some new names up at the front of the field. And you said Corby Daniels started before, but Matt Trineri, Alan Dobbs, names that we haven't talked about before, and it's really awesome to see these new names up front. We talked about it's a game in the head when you come to Daytona. It's not necessarily about your ability to set up a car. Not to take anything away from these guys, obviously, you'd expect they'd be able to perform very well in the Bluegrass iRacing series. It's just a really cool thing to see these new names up front right now.
And this is the Mills Insurance Agency 250. I don't think we've mentioned that yet. Presented by Mills in Sky. That's just how I read it. Mills, I guess, Insurance Kentucky is the way to think about it. MILLSINSKY.com. So again, think of it like Mills Insurance Kentucky. That's the best way to kind of imagine that web address. Mills Insurance Agency 250. Certainly appreciate Nick Mills for sponsoring this first race of the season. You see Rims 1, the Ghostface Brewing Company Beer Lab on there as well, both located in Mooresville, North Carolina. We're coming to our, well, what is this, third restart, I think, now of the race on lap 32 coming to 33. We do take that green flag. We are back racing, trying to get to lap 100. We're a third of the way there, just about. Once we complete this one, back by the stripe. Oh, really odd restart. Abbey has to get out of the throttle. You see Scott Fritz there. Nicholas Noggle as well. Here comes Alan Dobbs. I think he's got the best case scenario right here to win this stage.
Yeah, Dobbs did an excellent job getting through there, and a great restart by him. He's going to be fighting for the lead on the outside of Corby Daniels right here. Down the back stretch, put that number 3 machine back into the lead. Alan Dobbs was leading when the yellow came out. He gets back into the lead now over Corby Daniels on the outside. Very good run. The rest of the field packing up behind him, trying to stay together. The number 62, Matt Trineri, is now fighting into second place. Wes Wiggin in the 88 machine put him into third place. So the field's shaken up a little bit depending on that restart.
That is now 1/3 of the race done. Alan Dobbs in the number 3. He leads it. And again, I think he's in a great spot to try and win this stage at the completion of halfway. Matt Trineri, he's second place. Y'all see the 16, the 88, the 113 battling. That's Corby Daniels at 16. The 88 is Wes Wiggin. Now the 88, not the 188. The 113 still Daniel Worthington, Nicholas Noggle in there. You see even Joshua Abbey, the 14 car. He's a newcomer. That is Tyler Reed up on the top side. He is mixing it up with some of these Bluegrass iRacing Series established drivers, veterans, if you will. And, man, a lot of new things changing here in the Bluegrass iRacing Series. Half of the top 10, I think, is all newcomers or drivers who have not completed a full season yet. I mean, it's insane how many new drivers are up at the front.
Yeah, and it's not only new drivers, but it's also new numbers. You talk about Ed Osborne in the number 42. He was running the 555 last season. Wes Wiggin dropped the 1 off the front of his number to become the number 88 machine. And new cars, new looks. The number 113, we got used to that. Because it looked like we had a crash in the back there out of turn number 2. Maybe not, but you talk about Daniel Worthington. He was running a black and green car last year. Now he's running all white machine. So it's not just the drivers, but it's also the cars and the numbers that are very new for this season too. Both really cool and a little bit of a challenge for us, trying to make sure we know everything's going on the track.
Ryan Kendall comes back onto the racetrack. He is 1 lap down, but the field coming by him here momentarily. And, of course, Kendall had to keep it down on the bottom side, the apron through 1 and 2. But out of the corner, he might be in the way of some of these guys. We'll see where they catch him as they are. Well, it is formation laps up here in the front. Ryan Kendall out on the racetrack. You can see him up ahead. This is going to present an issue for these leaders on the bottom side. They're catching him into 3. They'll have to all snake and compress to try and get by him. He will play nice. Gets onto the apron, but can he hold it there?
Very respectable move. But, yeah, like you said, can he hold it down there? We've seen it before that if you get into the apron too quick, the speed you have, your tires don't get enough grip. You just slide up, and then you end up back onto the turn itself, and then all hell breaks loose for that car. So hopefully he kept it clean and everything. It looks good to go right now. We still got a battle for the lead. Wes Wiggin to the outside of Alan Dobbs. Daniel Worthington, who hasn't made a whole lot of noise as a front runner through season one. The number 113, rather, the Pennsylvanian driver, pushing Wes Wiggin out, gets a little bit of a lead over Alan Dobbs right now, and Wes Wiggin commits to staying with him. The two of them cut down and put Wes Wiggin and Daniel Worthington 1 and 2 through turn 3.
It's a big parking lot in turn 3. Many cars involved here. Brandon Young, Scott Fritz, and many, many more. Adam Lancaster, David Brackett. Brandon Robertson comes to a halt. It is a big parking lot, a big chunk them up here into the third corner at Daytona International Speedway. We will take another look back at things. We'll try and figure out, diagnose exactly what happens here into the third turn. And let's take a look at what happens. It all starts right around the 25 car, I believe. And you know what? Yep, he just turned left, and Joshua Abbey was still down there. And it's a big, big pile up. More cars. Oh, my.
And that includes a lot of fast guys, too. I mean, Joshua Abbey's been showing he's got the stuff. Tonight, John Kinder, we know John Kinder's always out there to be competitive, and his topside run that he made was very impressive earlier on. Joshua Abbey just had nothing to do there. I mean, Brandon Young came down, not looking where he was going enough, not aware that Joshua Abbey was where he was about to be. And obviously it bit him in the butt here, but it also took a lot of other guys and made a very big dent in their race here, too. The number 12, Hunter Hulberg, has been doing very well tonight, too. You saw him catch up. We're on board with Michael Oxett. As he comes into the corner, he just, what are you going to do? Everybody's checking up, spinning out, crashing in front of you, and there's not much you can do. He couldn't avoid hitting the back of John Kinder there, and it just gets caught up. So this is a tough break for a lot of these guys who've been fast and consistent and quiet, and just trying to get through this race. It's going to be a big hindrance for them.
It was actually Lancaster that he punts here. There he goes, just punts the 28 car right around, and then he gets hit again by the 18 car. This is a big, proper wreck here. And then Brian Terry gets John Kinder way after the fact. You see Mitch Smith leave the scene. There's the 18 car of Jeserwick. And, oh, my. And they're still wrecking after. Adam Lancaster just turns the 55 car, says, see you later. That was CJ Mason. They got turned so far after the fact. That's not going to feel good. That's not going to be something those drivers want to talk about afterwards. But in all of this, we do see now live images here under this caution flag where Wes Wiggin is the race leader. Daniel Worthington second place, Alan Dobbs third. But those front two are very beat up. I'd be very surprised if either one of them makes it back to the end of the stage in the lead.
Yeah, that aero mess-ups and all that damage on that car is really going to hinder the ability of it to cut through the air as it still runs. And if you're running in the draft, maybe the damage you have on your car isn't as big of a deal, but certainly being at the front and having that damage, these cars are built in a way that obviously they try to maximize the capabilities of drag and downforce and side force and all of those sorts of aerodynamic forces and pushes that you get out of a race car. And then you make contact and you start making the surface a little bit rougher and a little bit less continuous, and you start adding drag. It's called skin friction, skin drag, when you have a surface that kind of is not straight, and it adds a little bit of turbulence and messes up the air a little bit. So a little more drag is going to set you back. And if you can get in line behind somebody who's got a nicer car, it's not really that big of a deal. You can just kind of ride it out in second or third for a little while. But these two cars together being up at the front, yeah, you're right, Andrew. We'd expect them to probably drop back in due time.
See the race info there. 4 cautions now amassed for 14. It'll be 15 laps the next time by the start-finish line. In the 39, now going to be 40 laps that we've had so far, though, throughout the cautions we've had, 8 lead changers. That's actually relatively impressive. We have seen these guys get pretty single file at multiple points in time and just try and ride around. But then, of course, as Daytona is, something happens and changes that back up. Let's talk about how Travis Miller is back into the top 10 here. He's going to try and collect some stage points for himself and try and get a launch back on the rest of the field for his possibly second championship.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the stage points there, Andrew, because we're getting to the halfway point, and that's starting to become important again. So when we go back to green flag racing, that might be something to watch out for, how aggressive these guys are going to be for those 10 points. Travis Miller, you said he's going to be gunning up there, and we know Travis Miller is a persevering driver, and he's capable of getting up there. Certainly one to watch when they get the green flag again. But for the time being, we're gonna have 9 laps to go before we get to that point. So obviously, there's a whole field of cars that are going to be gunning for 10, 9, 8 points, getting into the top 3, top 5 even, just to get a couple under their belt here. But they're coming out of turn 4 for the final time before we get that green flag, and I'm glad you mentioned it because that should make this interesting.
This will be coming to complete lap number 40 of 100. That means 60 to go right here. We have the green flag signal from the starter stand. These guys get back on the loud pedals, and immediately that bottom side jumps out ahead, but Alan Dobbs has to clear Wes Wiggin and have a good way around him. Around Worthington up ahead, or no, I had that the other way around. He has to clear Worthington so that he can make a move on Wiggin to try and make a quality move on Wiggin and actually get that spot. Noggle's there with him. That might work out for the 3 car. If he can bring the 08 just like he just did, he can take this race lead, but now he's got to try and keep it from Nicholas Noggle.
Yeah, Noggle might be smart here for a little while and just push that 3 car for a bit here. We got plenty of laps left before we get those stage points sent out. So running in second place right now, not really a big deal. Daniel Worthington still holding on in behind him in third place. Wes Wiggin in fourth. Jack Bauer in fifth. And we've got a couple laps left before that starts getting crazy. I would hope Nick Noggle would just stay clean and calm for a couple laps to just tick him off and get ready to set up a nice move. But there's plenty of cars coming in from behind him, so I wouldn't be too sure of second place right now if I were Nick Noggle.
They round the banking in turns 1 and 2. You see Corby Daniels racing with Trineri. There's the 48 of Jack Bauer. He tried to get in front of the 62 car. There wasn't room. Up ahead, Travis Miller in 6th spot. He's going to take the 51 car to the outside. That's Casey Barlow trying to help Miller around the wounded 88 and 113. And they're starting to stack up behind and start to race things out a little bit here just inside the top 10. The back few stage points still entirely up for grabs.
Yeah, you're watching the race for 10th, and this is the final stage point position. Grenier making that pass on Corby Daniels. The number 91 in behind is going to try to follow Ryan Smith into 10th place now down the inside. But that position, that's pretty important because that's the difference between a point and no points. And obviously, any point you can get is important throughout the whole course of the season. We saw that with how close Justin Winters and Travis Miller were at the end of race 12, and even at the beginning of that race, and how close the championship actually became at the end. Any point you can get, very crucial throughout the course of the entire season, no matter whether you're running for first, second, fourth, 10th in the championship. So these guys know that, and while we still got 6.5 laps before we give those points out, I'd start making the moves. I'd start trying to push a little bit.
Someone who I think is trying to push right now is hanging on the outside of Wyatt Brackett. It's John Kinder in the number 21 machine. We've seen a lot of good things out of him over our tenure with the Bluegrass iRacing series. We'll see what he can do as he tries to race up into the top 10 here to complete stage 1. He doesn't have much help. I think he's actually working on his own on the outside right now and just going nowhere. Finally, he gets into the line in the Rims 1 Ford Mustang. Now he dips back out to the outside of Tyler Reed. This time, Wyatt Brackett will go with. And we have something changing up at the front as Alan Dobbs loses the lead. And wow! Worthington shoves Noggle up the racetrack. That was almost a crash in turn 3.
That was almost a crash in turn 3, and it was Nick Noggle trying to block 2 lanes at once, and obviously he's just trying to hold on to the lead, trying to get to that stage finish and get some points, but blocking 2 lanes at once is a dangerous situation. Look out for Wes Wiggin. He slid up out of the inside line a little bit through the tri-oval. Daniel Worthington now down on the inside, and I don't think he really had much of a choice with Nick Noggle trying to block him on the inside and Alan Dobbs on the outside. Put that 113 car in the lead, though, at least temporarily out of turn number 2, because it's a sure-fledged dogfight down the backstretch right now.
What do you do if you're one of these drivers that has the big picture in mind, the season as a whole, not just the stage? Because right now, these guys up at the front, for the most part, are all racing for the stage. We've seen that now out of Alan Dobbs, Nicholas Noggle, Daniel Worthington, and more. What do you do if you're a Travis Miller that wants to try and put a season together again?
Well, Travis Miller is one of those guys who just knows how to be in the right place at the right time, and I think he can definitely get up through there if he's just patient and clean. You got to watch out because the rest of the guys, maybe he could keep his nose clean, but you can get very easily caught up in a situation that you don't want to be in. So he's got to watch Nick Noggle and Alan Dobbs right now. He's got to watch Daniel Worthington and Wes Wiggins right now. He's got to be able to react accordingly to what they do. I think that's more important even than thinking big picture. It's just thinking about what the guys in front of you are doing right now, because you can very immediately come up on a car that's sideways.
Watching from the back end of Nicholas Nagel's machine as he continues to lead, now coming to lap 47 momentarily. And it's actually calmed down a little bit up at the front few positions, but further back, things are getting mixed up. So these guys racing side by side. John Kinder has made it into the top 10. He's in stage point territory. He's in 7th spot, but I think he'd like to go even further north.
You got a couple guys still running here. Yeah, it's like Andrew said, it was a couple guys that were running it more towards the back. They're starting to push it up. Oh, look at Brian Terry on the outside. We got some situations arising with these two guys on the outside. Just some lap traffic. These guys got to get around on the inside here.
On board with Ed Osborne. He now rides in 10th. He's the final driver in the stage points. Now Matt Grenier takes it away. The 15 car going to pick up 1 point if he holds on to that 10th position. Ed Osborne now on the outside looking in. Travis Miller up ahead. He's going to make a move off into turn 1. What can he do in the number 22 machine? He goes to the outside of Wes Wiggin and Daniel Worthington, but he has almost no help. Now John Kinder finally going to start to pull up on the back end of the 22 car. Brandon Robertson coming in behind, and even Matt Grenier in the 15 car, so things changing up at the front. We might have a 2x2 race to the end of stage 1.
Yeah, well, I would think with the way John Kinder has been progressing through this field at this moment in time, he wants to get down closer to the inside line. He's been side drafting his way up through the field, and that's been what's gotten the 21 car to this point. I think Travis Miller used the same strategy to get himself further up now, as we've got only a couple miles before it's really crunch time and when the points go out. So Travis Miller's just still ticking them off very slowly on the outside line. You see him very slowly progressing past these guys on the inside. Daniel Worthington, Alan Dobbs. Now he's going for Nick Noggle because they're side by side out of turn number 2 for the race lead.
There's a lap car up ahead. These guys will have to figure that out. I really have no advice for them, really, as they come up to this lap car up ahead. Now we'll squeeze down to the bottom. Hunter Hulberg holds a pretty wheel up on the top side, lets all of these guys go by. Now he gets a piece of the wall up there. Thankfully, he had room to recover that race car. Side by side of the line, it's Nicholas Noggle. Maybe they're wrecking behind. Jack Bauer's in it.
That's going to throw a yellow for sure, and Jack Bauer was sideways. A whole bunch of cars crashing. You're seeing Matt Grenier sideways.
No yellow yet. I think we're racing this out.
No yellow yet, so they're still going for that lap 50, trying to get to the end of the stage. That's really interesting that they didn't call the yellow, although I can see why, but Nicholas Noggle holding Alan Dobbs. John Kinder gunning the outside, gunning it down the backstretch. He's looking for some side draft off that number 3 machine, see if he can put his car up front. He's still within range of the side draft. Daniel Worthington hunting in 4th place. Brandon Robertson, Travis Miller side by side for 5th and 6th. Out of turn 4, Nicholas Noggle. Pretty easy line, sitting pretty. Alan Dobbs to the outside, going to be close at the line. Actually,
Alan Dobbs! Oh,
wasn't
my!
That close. Wow, Alan Dobbs pulled that move exactly when he needed to. Very fortunate that John Kinder was there with him, just barely. First ever stage winner in the Bluegrass iRacing Series, that number 3 machine, Alan Dobbs, and well-deserved, too.
We'll take a look back at what happens to Matt Grenier and more across the start-finish line the lap prior. And wow, that was an exciting way to wrap up the first stage in Bluegrass iRacing Series competition. You see Jack Bauer, Matt Grenier, they make contact to start all of this off, but we're going to have to get another couple of looks at things. They go by the lap car of Hunter Hulberg, and at this point, they've already gotten the pits closed. It's 1 to go on the stage, and man, that's just Daytona racing between the 15 and the 48. Ed Osborne caught in the middle. David Brackett. No, that's Wyatt Brackett that gets a piece. How about Joshua Abbey? How did he miss that?
That was just a little bit of luck and a little bit of skill right there, all feeding in together for Joshua Abbey. We'll see if we can get another one up and show you just how well. And we're riding on board, yes, so this is going to be a really great view to just show how impressive this was for Joshua Abbey to get through it. You see he's riding on the back of the number 62 of Matt Trineri, and Trineri now peels off to the top side. He gets some smoke. He knows there's some cars spinning in front of him. Holy mama, he came up on Wyatt Brackett like a thunderstorm and just barely avoided the number 33 machine. Very lucky stuff from the 05.
Holy mama, he came up on Wyatt Brackett like a thunderstorm. Trey, can we put that in our social media post, because that is perfect. That's the quote of the evening, I think, right there from Joe Donahue. I know you have a lot of Joe-isms, if you will. We've had Cattywampus a million times here. We've had plenty of other different I don't even know what to call them. Joe-isms is perfect. We'll come around. We will open up the pit lane this time by for Alan Dobbs and everybody else. That is certainly a big incident, though, for a lot of those drivers who were likely involved in one of the incidents beforehand, and now they're involved in a very big incident here right at halfway.
Yeah, and that's part of the dynamic that stage racing brings to us is how hectic it gets for those 10 points. Everybody coming into pit lane, well deserved. They're going to take a break, get some fresh rubber, some fuel in the tanks. But and definitely when they were coming to the line, obviously they were gunning for position, gunning for points. They weren't thinking about that as a consequence to be involved in such a big wreck. That definitely hinders the rest of their strategy for the night. They're going to have to get that fixed up, some damage repaired. Jack Bauer missed his pit box right there on your screen if you saw that. Yeah, it's just the type of thing that you have to be smart about. You have to think about that ahead of time. Is it worth it for me to make this move? Obviously, it didn't pay off for all those guys caught up in that wreck because they were running for stage points. I mean, they were running for actual points in the championship that could have progressed them forward, and instead they're all wrecking and having to use up time on pit lane to get the cars repaired. Just something that these guys obviously have to get used to. Bluegrass didn't have stage racing last season, so not only for the veterans and the rookies as well, it's about being smart and understanding how to race the stages without obviously doing what just happened.
Well, since we have stage breaks now and stage winners, we've got to talk to our first stage winner of the season. Joe, we've got him in the waiting.
And we bring in Alan Dobbs. Alan, this is Joe Donahue with PitStop TV. You got a copy real quick with us?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty, Alan. Well, congratulations. You are the first stage winner ever in the Bluegrass iRacing series, and what a way to do it.
Absolutely, man. What a finish for the stage there. That was a lot of fun.
Now, you made that move out of turn 4. It seemed like just perfectly executed at the absolute best moment. Were you aware of what John Kinder on the outside was going to be able to do to help you make that run down into the tri-oval again? Because he was up there and able to give you a little bit of help with some drafting to the line, but you cut it really close.
Yeah, I definitely knew he had the ability to give me a great push. I didn't know, if he would fight for the position or if he would tuck in behind me. But I was running really hot there, pushing Nick, so I really needed to take the move out there so I didn't strain my engine. And it perfect timing, like you said, and worked out really nicely.
Yeah, so did you know going into that corner that was what your move was going to be, or did you just kind of take an opportunity that you saw?
It was about halfway between 3 and 4 when I hit 285, and I saw the opening, and I said, I don't want to blow my engine at the stage, so I'm just gonna take this and see what happens.
Well, it worked out for you really well, and so we know you're going to have to focus and put down the hatches and try to get to the end of this one, maybe pull a move like that again in just about 45 laps, maybe get this victory. So we'll let you go quick, but thank you for coming in. Congratulations on making a very exciting end of the first stage in the Bluegrass iRacing series.
All right, thank you, guys.
So Alan Dobbs, yeah, absolutely. You saw it. He just knew he had to make that move. Obviously didn't want to blow up his car. You can't win a race if you blow up your motor that quickly in the event. So good stuff from him, and obviously just the wherewithal to know what to do right there. Obviously put him in the front and got him that stage win.
Absolutely got to have everything in mind when it comes down to it, even for a stage win here in the Bluegrass iRacing series. The first one does go the way of Alan Dobbs in very exciting fashion. Now we get to see them all do it again for another 50-lap run to the end. The green flag is out. We're coming back to green. It's now lap 55 of 100.
So that's 45 to go here. Alan Dobbs leading the way. Nick Noggle on his outside. Travis Miller bumped up to third place in the number 22. BRP Gaston's Ford Mustang pushing Alan Dobbs out to a little bit of a lead. And you're going to see him come out of turn number 2 this time. Single file for the most part. at least through the top 5. Daniel Worthington, Ronnie Shirk Jr. has broken up into the top 5 for the first time in a while. We haven't really talked about Ronnie so far in tonight's race. Yeah, just a single file right now. I think maybe we'll be a little bit conservative and stay a little patient right here.
Very calm there up at the front of the field. You see Worthington trying to hold with those guys up ahead. There's some cars back here that don't have a front end. In fact, Michael Brisson has no front bumper on his Ford Mustang. How about that? He's somehow up here in the top 10. Looks like he'll be passed right there by Ryan Smith, but still holding on pretty nicely. That is the perseverance that you talked about at the top of the show. Oh, and actually, he almost turns Ryan Smith in the corner.
You know, Ryan Smith and him, they were started both coming into the middle line right there, and very lucky they didn't actually get into any big contact. You're watching Adam Lancaster, Wyatt Brackett on the inside of the number 8 of Mitch Smith behind the car that's scored as the number 7 and should be the number 7, but that is Ronnie Shirk in the other number 8, the Budweiser number 8 on your screen.
Yeah, we had 2 8s side by side that have the same base paint scheme. We've seen a few things, but I wasn't expecting that. The colors are different, but the design is just about the same on those two.
Yes, but they are reversed colors because obviously you're watching Mitch Smith has his own sponsors on that machine. They did single file out, which was really nice, but yeah, you talked about perseverance and stability. Just getting your car to the end of the race right now is more important than trying to run for a handful of positions, running in 7th place or 8th place as compared to 5th or 6th right now. Ronnie Shirk Jr. leading that group, and you cut back through to a couple more of these guys who are just running single file right now. It's just a patience game. That's all it really is by now. We've got a little bit more than 40 laps to go, and especially for some of these guys who evidently don't have much of their car left on them or have a lot of damage. Chris LeBourgeois, one of them, with a lot of damage on the front nose of that car. This is just kind of just trek it out and get to the end and try to get that car repaired at the end for some speed. But right now, what more can you do than just kind of ride it out?
Oh, Nick Mills and Brian Terry make contact. That was close for those two. That's not damage on the Le Bourgeois machine, though. That's just a little bit of seasoning, if you will. A little bit of character on the car. I picked him to win. We'll keep with it. Travis Miller up here. He's into the top 3 once more. Nicholas Noggle up here trying to get back by Alan Dobbs, see what they can do with him. As now, here comes the 8 car. Mitch Smith back on the outside of all these guys. He goes by Lancaster. Oh, and Lancaster gets hooked down onto the apron and through the grass he will go. Adam Lancaster. Wow. The caution flies, and I think that's the only incident on the racetrack. I'm surprised we got the yellow for that.
Well, I think that might have just been jumping the gun a little bit or trying to be a little bit proactive for that scenario, because I was scared when Adam Lancaster went into the grass there. He could have dove down into the pit lane to try to keep the car straight, and that black flag that he would have gotten for running down into the pits would have been cleared and he would have been okay. Or, try to get back up, at least maybe not onto the banking, but at least onto the apron and get through that corner. You saw just a little push gone haywire for Adam Lancaster, and then like you said, what a save. Driving through the grass, pretty impressive. He kept that car straight, and maybe it was a little bit of proactive work to try to avoid a bigger crash with the yellow flag, or maybe an automatic response. But just a great run by Adam Lancaster to keep that car from doing anything major and getting any major damage.
Watching from Brackett's point of view, and you can see there's some damage there, but that doesn't even come into play. Just gets him in the exact wrong spot, and that's just an amazing save from Adam Lancaster. I want to watch that from the in-car. That is just incredible. He's able to hang on to that race car. You'll see how sideways it gets and the quick reaction on his steering wheel. And that's so hard to do. It's so easy to make an overcorrection when you get turned sideways like that, if you're able to correct it at all. So the fact that he's able to turn that car back straight and just kind of ride it out through the grass, very impressive. We'll see how it looks from the inside car. And wow, that's incredible. He doesn't even go into the pit lane. He just goes through the grass and gets that car woed down, doesn't come back onto the racetrack. That's so impressive.
Yeah, he almost looked like he might have even been aware and able to respond as it was happening, that he got a little bit of a bump from behind and then steered that car sideways to keep it straight. It's so hard to keep them straight when you get into that situation. These cars have a lot of inertia because they're heavy and they don't have a lot of tire on the ground. The tires are relatively small on a stock car. It's so hard to keep control of the car in that scenario. As you see some of these guys coming into pit lane and some of them peeling off right now as we get onto lap 61 now. Your leader at the line was Alan Dobbs, obviously won't be anymore as he comes down pit lane, put Travis Miller into the lead at this point. It's just really impressive to keep a hold of that car. The physics of keeping the car straight is so hard. Small tires, a lot of weight in the car. Very good stuff from Adam Lancaster, obviously showing some experience.
And you know what? I question the decision to pit right there because, well, you don't have a guaranteed caution ahead to be able to get back on the sequence. This is just too early, I think, to take tires and fuel to be able to go to the end of the race. I think we're still just a few laps shy of our fuel number. I believe it's still around the 35 lap mark. When they added the big wings on these cars, big spoilers, it really reduced the fuel economy. That said, it could be back up closer to 37, so it could just be very, very close for these drivers. It's just, man, you're at Daytona, it's the season opener, and you've got so many new faces around here. Why wouldn't you stay out? I personally think, why wouldn't you stay out? That said, I guess the same thing could be said for pitting. Why wouldn't you pit? You have a big safety net in the fact that it's Daytona. There's a ton of drag. You can get back to the field, but just my personal first opinion is to just stay out right here, do what Travis Miller just did, and keep the track position. Stay towards the front of the field. We haven't seen too many incidents come from up there. It's mostly been the middle of the field back. Relatively safe up there. I think you stay out. You're still likely going to make one pit stop, whether you pit or you stay out under this yellow flag. That's just my first instinct, is to stay out under this one.
I would have to agree with you on that one, Andrew, as much as it's very easy to see the strategic advantage of coming into the pits now, because more than likely we're expecting, or if you had to bank on it, you'd expect another yellow. You'd expect another chance to save fuel on the track, try to shut the engine off, run just drafting through the caution laps, save some fuel, be able to make it to the end. But at the same time, why would you even do that now? You know if you know you're going to have a yellow coming up, if you know that you're going to get a chance to pit later on, put less fuel in the car, because right now if you fuel up the whole way, you're going to have to run with a much heavier car for a handful of laps here before you start getting down to the end of the race. I would agree. I would have waited, but obviously a couple of these guys didn't, and maybe it'll pay off for them, and maybe it won't. Fortunately for us, we get a front row seat. We get to enjoy it and see how it does end up turning out.
A front row seat? What are you talking about? We don't have any fans in the stands. We have every seat that we can watch from here. Again, you can get some of these camera angles for yourself at whiplash-media.com. You can hit us up on Whiplash Media on Facebook. Love making these camera packs. We had some good ones. Sonoma comes to mind. We had some pretty good reviews from the Sonoma camera pack that we had on display for the Northwest GT3 Challenge on Monday. I'd like to think the Richmond cameras are pretty good as well. We saw Lima Land. I think having those proper dirt track cameras where it really feels like a real dirt track show is really important, trying to make things look realistic. Then we have these here at Daytona just looking pretty good. We've got all the TV cameras, of course. We've got the static cameras that you've been watching from throughout the evening as well. We got the speed shot here. We've got some blimps that you can watch from that just add some spice to things. It's a shameless self-promotion as we're coming to lap 63 here momentarily. To get this race restarted, we'll actually watch from one of our blimps up there in the air. The green flag is going to fly. There it is. We're back racing at Daytona. It's lap 63 of 100. Wow! Ryan Smith in the 91 from the, I don't even know, from the attic to the basement, I suppose. That was incredible. He just dove straight to the inside, all the way onto the apron, hangs onto the car, and now he's going to be third in line to the bottom side.
Yeah, that was about the equivalent of trying to steal a base by sliding in baseball. That was just a gunshot. That was the gunslinging move by Ryan Smith, and it did pay off now. You see him in third place running on the outside line as the leader up there, now trying to gun it in, and he actually makes the pass on Daniel Worthington on track, maybe even going for Travis Miller, but holy cow, was that just a absolute gunshot of a move. And Ryan Smith, it did pay off, but holy boy, yeah, I don't know. That was a sketchy one.
He's still getting the car sideways. Out of 4, he really threw that car into a very odd angle. He's leading that topside charge, as you mentioned. He's got Mitch Smith pushing him, so the Smiths working together up at the front of the field. Wonder if there's relation. I guess I shouldn't even speculate because there's so many Smiths. I think that's the joke around the name Smith. But hey, there could be. When you see two of any name in any series, you have to wonder. Alan Dobbs, he's still up there. You see, oh man, they're racing very closely further back. We'll say with this battle, despite Tyler Reed having some company around 15th or so. Actually, that was for. I'm trying to find it here on my list. I think he might be a lap down. So, yeah, he's a few laps down, 6 laps down, in fact, for Tyler Reed. You're watching the battle first through. Oh man, this is probably 10th or so. I think exactly 11th, 13th. That's where Adam Lancaster is, and everybody's they're formed up 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. However, it's very calm. They're pretty spaced out. Unless Mitch Smith makes it 3 wide with Jack Bauer and Ryan Smith, I don't think there's too much craziness happening. But, of course, anything could change at any given moment. Joshua Abbey, he'll get back down to the inside line behind Adam Lancaster. You see, each of these guys just trying to figure out where they want to be, where they want to run, how they want to run, if they want to try and lift and coast and try and save some fuel, or if they want to run full beans.
Yeah, I think the big thing, what you said, is they could very easily keep this clean, but it could very easily go wrong, too. I think everybody's in the same mindset right now, though. We're just about at 2/3 of the way through this race. We still got plenty of laps left. You've got plenty of time to make moves if you need to, but you can't just overcome a major incident if you get caught up in one. So these guys are going to be a little patient, be a little conservative maybe. Obviously, Mitch Smith, you see him on the tail, pushing Ryan Smith maybe even to the lead on the outside line. Travis Miller and Daniel Worthington hooked up on the inside. But yeah, let's just try to be a little patient right now. I think everybody's kind of in the same boat, trying to stay safe. And oh boy, you know, I say that, Daniel Worthington and Ryan Smith get right up on each other on the side by side, but out of turn number 4. But yeah, you know, just try to keep it clean for the moment and just take off a couple laps. I think that's the best move and the best strategy right now.
And they've got to be very, very careful as well not to bumper hook somebody. We've already seen that happen with Wyatt Brackett and Adam Lancaster. Now, wow, Ryan Smith got right down on the door of Travis Miller and Worthington. Now, Mitch Smith going to shoot the gap. He's going to go 3 wide. He's going to take that lead spot on the outside. The Smiths will switch. And everything changes up at the front because now we got to figure out how Mitch Smith is going to race these guys up here and what Ryan Smith is going to be able to do behind him, trying to push.
Yeah, you know, if those two guys were talking to each other, working with each other right now, I think that would have been a very strategically helpful move for them. You're riding on board with Ryan Smith as he gives a little nudge to the number 8 in front of him down into the gauntlet of turn number 1 right now. Yeah, just 3 wide out of turn number 2. That was pretty significant to see. Jack Bauer now up into 3rd place. You see him passing on the inside of Mitch Smith down the backstretch again. Daniel Worthington still pushing Travis Miller up front. Now Ryan Smith guns it with Jack Bauer on the inside, so Mitch Smith gets hung out to dry on the top line. And Ryan Smith's going to push the number 48 into 3rd place. He's all over the place on that inside line. You see him going back and forth, a little wishy-washy. Almost contact between the Smiths out of turn number 4 again, and I think that's just a trouble spot. Getting off that banking is where you see a lot of these guys lose it a little bit.
Remember how I said earlier, you've got to hold a pretty wheel around this place. Doesn't matter if it's qualifying or race. Oh, and there goes Mitch Smith, wrecking right in front of Alan Dobbs, the stage winner. Maybe can he keep this together? Oh, no, he's going to have some right front damage, and he got pounded from the back end. Now hits John Kinder after the fact. And we've got a big smash 'em up once more, this time on lap 69 in turns 1 and 2. We'll go back and see what happens. Mitch Smith had Ryan Smith to the inside. I was mentioning, got to hold a pretty wheeler. That happens. Ryan Smith just turns the 8 car, and oh my, Le Bourgeois, the terrible luck continues. And then you see Alan Dobbs gets hit, and he's going to end up hitting John Kinder right at the end. Oh, my.
Yeah, that wasn't very nice, but it was pretty impressive out of Mitch Smith. I'll give him a lot of credit that maybe you at first wouldn't think. But if you watch this replay, you see Mitch Smith really, for the most part, at no fault of his own. That was actually Ryan Smith kind of coming up a little bit into him. Mitch Smith held that car straight. I mean, he didn't keep it clean necessarily, but he never spun out. And I think that's worth something for Mitch Smith to have done that, to not spun out. I think holding a couple positions maybe that he wouldn't have, obviously, if he would have turned and had to come to a complete stop there, but also just to show the abilities of that number 8 car right now, and that was pretty impressive. So obviously he's going to have to come get some repairs done if he wants to have a competitive car throughout the course of the end of this one with about 30 to go. Nothing he could do, but he recovered pretty well. And yeah, there were a couple of hard licks in this one too.
That was Chris LeBourgeois, nowhere to go. And there were so many more involved in this. I want to see if we can find out exactly who was in this. I mean, oh my, this is a massive, massive accident for some of these guys. Michael Brisson was in this one. He's the 71 car there on the bottom side, the Ford Mustang with no front end that we were talking about, hanging on to things. And yeah, I mean, that's just a sloppy turn one from Ryan Smith. I hate to put it that way, but that's just what happened. He just got in there and wasn't careful. He did not hold a pretty wheel like we were seeing him all over the place. And once more, just a little bit wishy-washy to the corner, and he just tags the left rear of Mitch Smith. The two Smiths, definitely very confusing to try and keep track of, but Ryan gets into Mitch, and it's just on from there.
Yeah, I mean, it's really unfortunate. They were running very well, and obviously it's a major setback. Hopefully they'll be able to recover, or maybe use fast repairs and just keep it going. But yeah, like you said, I mean, you get a little wishy-washy into the turns and out of the turns. The banking's pretty significant here at Daytona. We talked about that at the top of the show. And the transition is the big point where the car gets a little loose underneath you. And you really have to be not only aware, but kind of proactive and acting on how the car is going to handle as you go over those transitions. And it's tough, and you can't even for the most experienced of drivers, you can't really say much of when that sort of thing happens, because it's just a hard thing to deal with. And obviously it bites the tail a couple times throughout the course of the event, and it happened again right here.
It is now lap 71 of 100. See a couple of teammates here. Joshua Abbey somehow still kicking in second place, and he's going to line up to the outside of his teammate Wes Wiggin, but Travis Miller will exit the pit lane as the first car to have pitted under this caution. That's pretty important there for Travis Miller to be the first of the cars that have now taken fuel and tires and are now good to the end on fuel. 30 laps should be no problem for these drivers. So now you wonder if Wiggin or Abbey will come in, or if they'll try and chance this one. They will try and chance this one and hope it goes their way.
Absolutely. So yeah, strategy plays a big deal right now. And right now, Wes Wiggin, Joshua Abbey leading the way. And yeah, like you said, it's just all strategy right now. It's just all the game you play. But I want to talk about just how well Joshua Abbey's done to get back to this point. Is perseverance, something that obviously third place Travis Miller knows darn well, but maybe Joshua Abbey, not somebody we've given as much credit to for that itself. Same for Wes Wiggin, Daniel Worthington, guys who just kind of stick it out. And that's really important right now. That's what you need to do. And maybe over the course of time, they haven't quite gotten the recognition they deserve for being able to do the same thing that Travis Miller has done. Obviously, Travis Miller has won races in this respect, but Wes Wiggin, Joshua Abbey, they've done that before, gotten top 5s, top 10s out of situations that they maybe hadn't had the opportunity if they wouldn't have just persevered and pushed it as hard. Right now on your screen, they're coming down the backstretch. They're going to get the green flag this time by. The weather report on the side of your screen showing it's cool, track's cool. There's not a whole lot of wind right now. The track's getting kind of cool and rubbered up, so hopefully the grip will benefit these guys. They'll be able to race cleanly over these last 28, 26 laps to the finish and what we're expecting for the finish of this race. So it should get kind of gripped up and nice here for these guys.
Incredible weather here in Daytona. Very nice outside, which is actually really good that we have these lower temps going into fall like this, where it is cooling down. We get to reflect that here in the air and track temperatures. Come to the green flag this time. This is going to be lap 73 of 100. There we go. We get the green flag signal. They are back racing. What a restart out of Wiggin. Well coordinated amongst the top two. The Dirt Track Junkies team figuring things out up ahead. Now Abbey trying to block Miller. He goes down to the bottom side trying to keep that 22 in behind. How will they work Worthington in?
That was pretty interesting, and I don't know. I mean, obviously, Joshua Abbey doesn't want to fall back right now, but trying to jump down in front of Travis Miller and steal his momentum to keep up with Wes Wiggin, I don't know, kind of iffy on that one. Obviously not quite as extreme as what Ryan Smith did on the previous restart. who, speaking of which, is running up on the outside very, very quickly with Jack Bauer in behind him, and they run a little bit high through the corner, obviously giving some room so they don't make any contact. But I would watch Ryan Smith to get in some momentum off the top side, a little bit of a side draft. We could see the number 91 competing with these guys for the lead very quickly.
So back to the point that I tried to make there before that caution flag came out, you got to hold a pretty wheel. If it's in qualifying, it's going to help your lap time. It's going to reduce tire scrub. In the race, it's going to reduce tire scrub, save your tires a bit more, and it's just going to be able to allow you to race a bit better with these guys, race closer. Everybody's going to trust you a whole lot more and be more willing to work with you. If you're a little bit all over the place, just being a little bit lax with it, whether it's intentional or not, these guys might not want to work with you. They're going to try and stay away from you because they know that you're a little bit more loosey-goosey out of these corners, and you've got to be super, super careful of that. Whether it's on the top side, the bottom, the middle, in between, you've just got to make sure you hold that wheel as straight as you can. It's very tough to do so, especially with differing force feedback settings. Here, of course, this is an iRacing sim. They can customize how much force feedback they want to feel in their wheels at home, on their desks, their rigs, whatever. Things differ, and it can certainly change the way these drivers feel the racetrack. It can change the way they make corrections here and there, just trying to stay in lane. That's why you see them all move around a little bit. Oh, wow! Holberg almost turns the 68 further back. Thankfully, they keep racing, but 2x2x2 up at the front as 7 cars all in formation. And then you see Nick Mills. He's in the top 10. How about that for the driver of the 46?
Yeah, really great to see Nick Mills break up in there, one of the organizers of this series, and it's really cool to see them start to cycle through a little bit, get him up front for a little while. But if these guys keep it calm enough for a quick second so I can get it in, I definitely want to build off of what you said about trying to keep your car straight, because the rest of your competitors are going to be watching you right now. This race, we talked about it before, they're very much a head game. You have to be smart about what you're doing out on track. You have to be intelligent, not only in terms of your own car and your own strategy, but what the guys around you are doing. So right now, Ryan Smith kind of has to start proving that he can keep that car clean, keep that car going straight, right? Because he's got these guys around him. He wants to work with them to try to make time up, try to make these passes that he's now attempting on Wes Wiggin for the race lead. To the stripe, I think Wiggins just barely going to hold him out. But you see what I'm talking about. Ryan just a little bit squirrely coming through to the tri-oval. And the rest of the guys around him, they're well aware that he's all over the place right now. He's going to want to show them that he's somebody that they can work with at the end of this race, try to get some positions, maybe even win. But if you don't keep it clean and everybody else around you knows that you're just all over the place and you're just a wild card to draft with, you're going to get hung out at the end of this race. And that's something you really can't have or afford. You see a couple lap cars come through. We're going to make just some clean passes on them. That's Adam Lancaster, that one that they're passing right now. Just something to think about is the importance of showing your competitors not only that you're fast, but also that you're clean and consistent and can keep your car straight.
And it matters on other racetracks as well, even road courses. You want to be able to hold that wheel straight and be very accurate with what you're doing, very precise, especially on ovals. Think Kansas, for example, Auto Club, Michigan. You want to hold the wheel as smoothly as you can because you don't want to scrub too much tire, too much rubber, as Wiggin gets way up out of the bottom groove out of turn 2. And what's interesting is as these laps go on, they're just going to move around a lot more because they're racing for the win at this point. They've got just 22 laps to go this next time by the stripe. They are starting to think about this race win. They're starting to think about how they're going to win the first race of the second ever Bluegrass iRacing Series season. Right now, Jack Bauer, the race leader, at the stripe.
So Jack Bauer going to collect some bonus points for leading laps, and I think that's something we haven't quite said yet. Obviously, 2 points for leading laps in this series, and it's very important in the long run to get those points. Like we said, points are just so crucial. Everything stays very tight with these guys, and that's really awesome. But I think Travis Miller, I think he's gotten through and gotten some bonus points so far for leading laps, and that's good. Ryan Smith did the same. Obviously, he led a lap. And something we hadn't talked about quite yet, but maybe some of these other guys who haven't gotten up to the front yet, looking through the order, that would want those 2 bonus points and might start being a little aggressive just to get those out of the way soon.
Watching on board with Joshua Abbey as he tries to See what he can do with his dirt track junkie teammates up here at the front of the field. He's currently in the 5th position as they start to work things out above him and get that charge mounted once more. Travis Miller, the outside line leader. Jack Bauer behind him. Then it's John Kinder. Adam Lancaster still up there despite going for a ride recently. Ryan Smith leading the charge on the bottom side. And you have to wonder when the bottom side might try and dump Ryan Smith if they are getting tired of it. As wow. I don't know what just happened to Jack Bauer, but I've not seen a run like that on iRacing just from a random car. Jack Bauer's got some kind of problem as Travis Miller just got shot out of a cannon. He got shoved out to the front, and then the 48 dropped anchor.
I'm not sure what happened up top, but you saw the 48 kind of relinquish his position up there and go up to the very top side through 3 and 4 just to let everybody who had momentum by. Not quite sure what held him up. We're on board with Ryan Smith right now, who's running in 2nd place behind the number 22 machine out of turn number 2. See if he stays in line or maybe tries to make a move. Ryan's a little aggressive today, and we've been seeing him make some aggressive moves. Travis Miller staying down low, trying to be smart about what he's going to do through 3 and 4. Ryan Smith gave up the bottom line to Wes Wiggin, who's going to use the draft of the number 22 and the shorter run through the corner to go back to 2nd place.
Pit stops. There goes Abby and Wiggin and Moore. Those are the dirt track guys.
Yeah, and good Lord, did they come off that corner and just slam the brakes. That was pretty scary to see them all checking up all at once there. And I think Wes Wiggin actually got caught out a little bit going into the pit lane because he seemed like he lost spots and braked a bit earlier than his teammates.
Well, it's not going to matter for these guys up ahead unless we get a caution flag. That would bring the dirt track junkies back into it. But right now, Ryan Smith racing Travis Miller for what will be the race win. Oh my, in just under 20 laps, and Miller playing the blocking game. I think we talked about it at, I think if my memory serves me correct, at Talladega, where the 22 car was blocking a bit, just like Joey Logano usually does. The NASCAR Cup Series, I think, starting to look exactly like that, where Travis Miller is going to start putting blocks on these guys once more. He wants to keep the race lead for himself. He wants to get that bonus point for leading the most laps. He's already got it for leading a lap, but he wants to lead the most laps. He wants to lead every lap that he can. He wants to win this race just like anybody else does, and he's going to put some blocks on Ryan Smith, and now John Kinder's up here. And you know what? At Talladega last season, John Kinder and Adam Lancaster as well, they start blocking up the racetrack. Miller's going to pick up the 20. Oh my, I can't keep it with these guys. They're killing me. But John Kinder and Adam Lancaster, they had a very interesting strategy at Talladega. They looked like they had a chance to win things. They ended up kind of falling off of that very aggressive fuel-saving strategy, and they kind of just milled around the mid-pack the rest of the race and then still finished pretty decently. They end up, they'll rear their heads a few times, they'll be quiet for the next little while, and then they just pop back up at the end of these races.
Yeah, that's a strategy that we've seen the 21 and 28 share with each other, those two teammates, over the course of Season 1, and then obviously they've been kind of showing it here in this race tonight. Wyatt Brackett giving a big shove on the top side to the number 38. So that's actually both of the brackets now have put them in the race lead. I don't know where they came from out of nowhere, but you talk about people getting runs and moving up quickly to the front. The two brackets did the same thing, because we got a lot of cars coming down to pit lane. Looks like Travis Miller going to relinquish it with a whole slew of them. Adam Lancaster, John Kinder.
Oh, Ryan Smith around. Smith. And this is exactly what I did not expect. I thought they were good on fuel. The fuel limit is catching them. I thought even with a fuel limit, we were good to go 30 laps. Not the case at all. Everybody's going to have to pit here. That changes everything. I really thought we were still good to go, even with a smaller fuel load. But obviously not. We've still got pit stops ahead for every one of these drivers. Nobody quite good to the end. That really changes things up. I wonder if the limit was about 25 laps like we saw earlier on. And, well, now we got to wait for all these drivers to pit and when they're going to do it and how they're going to do it, if they're going to execute well. The brackets leading, Robertson with them, a bunch of Northeasterners up at the front, and I believe the whole top three would be. I do recall that at least Wyatt Brackett's from the state of Maine and Brandon Robertson up from New Hampshire. I'm going to try and find the hometown there for David as well.
Yeah, these brackets leading the way. Brandon Robertson, you talk about these New Englanders, but you also just talk about names that we haven't seen up front quite yet in tonight's race. Brandon Robertson obviously gave a little bit of steam at the early going and through the mid race, but Brandon Robertson's a name we are used to at least seeing in first, second, third, and we haven't seen as much of that. The brackets now running 1-2. They've only shown small amounts of speed so far in the race. Maybe just holding off a little bit, trying to run out the laps and get to the end of this race. I'm more curious to see when they come in, if they come in for fuel at all. Maybe, just maybe, I'm not quite 100% sure on this. Maybe they're good to the end? I don't know. It's kind of crazy to think it, but it would be pretty interesting and impressive if they were.
Well, they've been going for 15 laps, and they've still got 13 to go. That would be on the very edge. I don't think they can do it. We'll have to wait and see if they can. I would be blown away if they make it work. That would be a really long distance for these drivers to stretch the fuel. I would expect we see them in soon, but they may be trying to just run it out as long as they can. Of course, want to just run that fuel and see if you can get a caution flag to help save you in. There they go. They will pit this time by. So Nick Mills will come with them, Scott Fritz as well, and that's the pit stop we were waiting on.
But that does give them the chance to short fuel a little bit, maybe put less fuel in and therefore sit on pit lane a little bit less time, maybe cycle out in a good position. That would be the move right now, and I would have maybe held on for a couple more laps to see if I could get a yellow or something like that, try to get a good advantage like that. Maybe I could get to the end of this race with even less time on pit lane or even less time lost to your competitors. Obviously, they didn't make that move. They come back out onto the racing surface, and I think they're still going to benefit very well off of this, being able to short pit. But if you're going to pull the strategy of trying to lengthen it out, you might want to, you try to commit to it and go all out.
Looking at your race leader with an upside-down roof number, that's something I haven't seen on a stock car before. He has no rear end, though. Gary Jazorski, a brand new name to the Bluegrass iRacing series. No back end, no deck lid, no spoiler. He's the race leader. He's out here with the 68 car. God, I gotta refresh my name on that one. Again, so many new faces that it's so hard to keep. Ryan Kendall in the 68. Hunter Holberg up ahead. He's got Alex Brown behind and Matt Grenier behind him. He's now only got one lap left. He'll come around and make it 2, I'd imagine, this next time by, but he is leading this thing. If a caution flag comes out soon, boy, what it would be if he's able to keep leading this race and stay up at the front and just try and take advantage of this track position. And, he's going to punt Holberg as they come in to try and pit. Will this draw the yellow flag? Hunter Holberg wrecked out of turn 4, into the pit lane, and that car is toast.
Yeah, so timing and scoring showing we're still green, but holy cow, did he eat that wall a ton on the inside of turn 4. He was just checking up to come down pit lane, and, I mean, what else can you do? He got tagged coming in because he hit the brakes a little quicker than that 18 car, but it's just a tough break for Hunter Holberg. He got a whole bunch more damage on that car that he did not need. Coming down into the pits side, I mean, he's just trying to run out the end of this race and got checked up a little bit in front and then obviously punted from behind. Tough break from him as well.
And now with that out of the way, we go back to our race lead battle at this point. Miller's going to block Wyatt Brackett out of Woolwich, Maine, up to the top side of the racetrack. Here comes Lancaster out of Mooresville, North Carolina. Alan Dobbs in there as well out of the state of Alabama. I like including these hometowns and states. We're going to have David Brackett out of the same town as Wyatt Brackett, Woolwich, Maine. He's going to try and power back up to his son, I do believe they're in Wyatt, and help them both go towards the front. Almost gets into the right rear of Dobbs, and he lives, and he's going to lose some time.
Yeah, and one thing to think about right now is Adam Lancaster is a lap down on these guys, at least one lap down. He's not being scored in second place because he isn't on the same lap as these guys. So you'd think, oh boy, geez, Brian Terry was really close to cutting back up in front of the leaders in the corner there. But yeah, Adam Lancaster just not a part of this battle right now. He's 2 laps down behind him, but he is teammates with John Kinder. So that was kind of what I was expecting, at least out of Adam Lancaster. With 10 laps to go, his focus is probably going to be on that number 21 machine, trying to get John Kinder as many points and positions as he can at the end, see what strategically he can do to help his teammate out.
Wyatt Brackett side draft on the outside of the 28 car of Lancaster. We're watching from the back end of the roof of Travis Miller. Miller goes up to block. I don't think he needs to worry so much about Lancaster. He needs to worry more about Brackett. Lancaster's not the car he's racing for position, and Brackett can hang on his right rear now, and that's really going to change things up out of the corner. Brackett with a big run. He'll go to the outside of Miller, and he's going to bring Alan Dobbs, and this is exactly what Travis Miller could not allow to have happen. Remember, a season ago, he got the win not by dominating, but by falling into it. There was a wreck with Justin Winters and some more. I forget who else was in it, actually. But there was a wreck in turns 1 and 2 on the last lap of the race, and Travis Miller came around to collect it. He didn't go out there and just win this thing straight out. And I don't know if this blocking strategy trying to play Pied Piper is going to work out for him. Either he's going to end up blocking the wrong line at the wrong time, or he's going to get hooked. Oh! He's not even the one involved.
Wow, that's the type of thing you have to barter with, is whether you're going to stay out of the top group, because it's a situation like this. Tough break. Wyatt Brackett got involved in that. Adam Lancaster sideways. 8 laps to go. We got a yellow flag. We get a replay of this. Oh boy. Yeah, this is the kind of thing you just have to be patient about, try to avoid.
I'm not even sure what happened here yet. You see Miller throw the block. That checks up. Oh, Alan Dobbs just turns left and hooks Adam Lancaster. And then it's on from there. John Kinder gets a solid piece of it. Wyatt Brackett and more. And yeah, Alan Dobbs, I think, was just reacting to the stack up there at the 22 and the 33, and in doing so just goes straight down the racetrack into Lancaster and bodies both of those team machines, the 28 and the 21, and it was just on from there.
Yeah, one of the things you have to think about as a racing driver, when you're trying to avoid a car like we were seeing right there, Dobbs doing around Wyatt Brackett, you get kind of tunnel vision. You kind of start focusing on the car that's spinning. In this case, would be Wyatt Brackett, the car losing time. And you try to avoid hitting them. But in that immediate moment, you forget, hey, there are cars running on my inside right now. Adam Lancaster, John Kinder, they are down there. And Alan Dobbs just got a little bit too pre-focused on Wyatt Brackett going through that corner, trying to avoid the 33, and obviously he had to do so, but didn't pay attention enough and have that momentary wherewithal to know that John Kinder and Adam Lancaster were down there, and obviously just got into them. Tough break for Kinder and Lancaster. Obviously, Lancaster already was 2 laps down, and Kinder didn't get as much damage. Hopefully he'll be okay, and just something that is kind of hard to avoid. You kind of get that tunnel vision look when you're running that competitively, and you have to make a decision that quickly, but obviously, took some competitors out of this one.
Well, let's talk to one of those competitors that was in the thick of things. David Brackett has been running an incredible back end of this race with son Wyatt Brackett. And now, David, Wyatt's been taken out. What did you see from that one? Hey, David Brackett, this is Andrew in the PitStop TV booth. Do you have us?
Yeah, I think I hear you.
There we go. We got you now, David. So we're talking about how great of a run you and Wyatt had going there for a little bit, and now he's been taken out up ahead of you. What did you see in that caution?
It looked like a bunch of guys fighting over the same spot, and little Joey Logano up there doing maybe a little bit of blocking.
Yeah, so of course you guys are trying to mount these passes on Travis Miller, and we even talked about how he's blocking much like the real driver of the 22 Ford Mustang. How do you guys see that?
Yeah, some people got to call it as they see it.
So David, of course, Wyatt's now pretty well out of this thing. What's your game plan trying to go to the end, trying to work with some of these drivers? Who do you think you'll work with here to try and beat him out?
Whoever's right in front of me that I can't pass, because I think I got a little bit of damage, so I'll push where I can, and if I can use a little bit more bumper to push somebody out of the way, that might work in my favor.
Well, we'll try and spot for you a little bit. Looks like the back end's kind of kicked in right in the center of your car. I would say the center to the right front of your bumper has a little bit of damage, but I think if you keep that car behind somebody, it's going to work just fine. Best of luck to you here at the end. We're coming to 5 laps to go.
Nice. And
that's David Brackett out of Team New England, and a man of few words, certainly keeping things clear and concise. That's one way to put it for sure.
Yeah, short, sweet, and to the point. And maybe he was trying to be a little smart about what he said on the broadcast. Try not to say the wrong things right now. Obviously, you could be a little upset about that. The way that ended his son Wyatt's race for the win there. Tough break. What are you going to do? But David Brackett obviously has a right to be a little upset about what just happened for Wyatt and maybe for his own race. You just give some short answers. Just be logical and try to put the horns on, get through it. That was pretty surprising. Just how few words we got, but obviously, he's got to focus. He's got 5 laps to go. He's running in 4th right now, coming to the green. There's a lot going through his mind right now.
Well, as frustrating as that blocking may be, it really comes down to just a small mistake there from Alan Dobbs where he gets into John Kinder and Adam Lancaster. That's what causes that caution flag. So that blocking may be very frustrating up ahead, but that's what it comes down to, I think. It's nothing Alan necessarily did. It's certainly no malintent there from the number 3 car, just a small mistake trying to race and avoid things. And, it had backed out the 33 car a little bit, and hey, that's part of racing at Daytona when it comes down to it. You've got to make those moves if you're Travis Miller, and if you're wanting to hold that race lead. Obviously, he does want to hold the race lead. He's making those moves, trying to block. We do have a very damaged car on the inside of row number 3 coming for this restart. That is Wes Wigand ahead of Bryce Hunter. We'll see how that works out as Wes has no front end on his car. Coming to 4, count them 4 laps to go. We're back green flag racing at Daytona.
John Kinder in 3rd place. He jumped down to the apron momentarily there at the stripe. I don't know what that was quite about, but it cut off a lot of his momentum as they make the thundering charge into turn number 1. Dobbs moves down to the inside to put him into 2nd, right behind Travis Miller. They go, oh, big crash! Holy cow, look out for the number 9, and we got another yellow coming out. Wow.
Right after we talk to David Brackett, he gets sent around. Boy, I don't think he's going to want to talk to us anytime soon.
Yeah, rightfully so. I will have to check the replay out and see what happened there, but holy cow, Bryce Hunter went for a wild ride into that corner. So there's Joshua Abbey giving a little push to David Brackett, and yeah, he just clipped him a little bit, trying to give him some extra momentum through the corner, trying to bump draft a little bit into the corner, and yeah, no, I mean, what are you going to do? He just got clipped and turned by Joshua Abbey, and obviously collected a whole slew of the other guys, including Daniel Worthington, who's been running very well and had a very good performance so far tonight. Number 9, Bryce Hunter. We haven't talked a whole lot about him, but certainly you'll watch this replay right here. So there goes David Brackett and just clips him. Oy vey, did he hit that wall a ton on the outside. Very lucky this is a video game, because if that would have been real life, Bryce would have been in for a pretty significant impact.
Well, I mean, we all know what wreck that looks like. I'm not going to have to say that. That is a massive impact, and I've not seen a car get turned around quite that quickly, even on iRacing in quite a while, and just hit that wall so hard. And this is man, that is scary. You know what that actually looks like? That actually reminds me a bit of, I think it was the 2018 Daytona 500 for Chase Elliott, oddly enough, where he got turned head on into the wall like that. That is just, oh my gosh, that is such a hard hit.
Yeah, and thankfully for Bryce, I mean, obviously this being a video game, but just coming up to speed for the first time, they weren't quite at full speed yet into that corner, so he wasn't going quite as fast as he would have been, and maybe that saved him some damage on the car in this game that maybe he'll get some of it repaired or maybe not. We only have 3 laps to go. Now past the stripe, we'll be getting some green-white checkered finish. We'll at least attempt to get a green-white checkered finish in here. So maybe this gives him a chance to get some repairs done. That number 9 can be competitive moving forward, but obviously for the rest of the guys involved in that crash, pretty significant as well to have that damage and now get taken out of contention.
Absolutely. Heartbreaking for everybody involved in those last couple of wrecks. A lot of big ones, a lot of big hits this evening, certainly affecting how this race is going to pan out. But, man, it's so incredible that we end one season with Travis Miller, the race winner, and or sorry, the championship winner, and here he is once again. Didn't he win the All-Star race? I mean, this guy just, oh my gosh, Travis Miller has got something going for him.
Yeah, Travis Miller, I mean, he's just dug out a lot of wins. I think he won 4 races last season, I believe, if I'm remembering that number off the top of my head correctly, and then, won the All-Star race. Just absolutely a stellar performance for season 1 out of Travis Miller, and rightfully so. He's up front again, proving he's picked up right where he left off, the BRP and Gaston's number 22 machine. But I'll give it to Alan Dobbs. He's been very strong. Obviously, the way racing is on a super speedway kind of caught him out, and unfortunately the brackets aren't really too thrilled about the way that went out. But he's still running second. John Kinder's still running third, somebody we know can certainly get around this course. Wes Wiggins, Ryan Smith, some other guys who've shown some speed tonight. So as much as it is a tough break for the guys who have gotten caught up, that have been fast and just got caught up in the wrong place, wrong time scenario in these last few laps that have now taken them out of contention, it's frustrating, and they have a right to be upset, but you can't let that get you down. There's plenty of time left, not only to gain a couple positions on track now, but over the course of the season, obviously, and try to fight back up through maybe as we continue the season forward here on PitStop TV. These guys, they got plenty of time left, so it's all about keeping the bullhorns on, keeping your head down, and just keep on rocking it.
It is currently lap 100. We have an unmanned flag stand. No, I think the flagger is just, the flagger's just standing behind that pole with the light at the top there. For a second, I really did think that was an unmanned flag stand. I was wondering what the heck is going on here at Daytona, but it is lap 100 now of 103 expected laps. That is if this restart goes official. Remember, they have to make it back to the start-finish line for this one to be good, for this one to count. If there is a caution flag before we get back to the white flag, we re-rack them, we restack them, we do it all over again, and we give these guys one more chance to finish this race out under green flag conditions. If they make it to that white flag, all bets are off. They race it back around, and that is the end of the race. We're going into Bluegrass iRacing Series overtime here on iRacing.com. It's been a pleasure having all of you viewers along with us for the opening race of Season 2 here for the Bluegrass iRacing Series. I want to thank, of course, all of our partners with the Bluegrass iRacing Series, Rims 1, Ghostface Brewing Company, Mills Insurance Agency, all of our partners here at PitStop TV, Tucson Sound Art, Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, Whiplash Media. This is possibly the final restart of the night. We're back green flag racing. It's overtime at Daytona.
Look at the run on the top side out of Alan Dobbs. He's holding on very well with Travis Miller. John Kinder down on the inside. Wes Wiggins hopped in behind him, and the inside line comes thundering through. Now Alan Dobbs caught out to dry on the outside, or at least in the middle of turns 1 and 2. Travis Miller leading, and he's going to hold down on the inside line. Now he cuts up a little bit, trying to block John Kinder's run. The rest of the field kind of staying clean. I'm pretty surprised. I would have thought a little bit of aggression starting to show itself here through turn 3. John Kinder pushing the way of Travis Miller with the 88 in behind him. Wes Wiggins, Ryan Smith is a part of this picture. They're coming to the light. I think we're going to get this in. I think we're going to get the white flag here.
White flag displayed. There it is. This restart's official. We will be finishing it this time by Travis Miller, race leader. Ryan Smith's doing a lot to try and find some kind of run to get up there. What can John Kinder do? He's second place. He wants to win here at Daytona International Speedway to open up the second season of the Bluegrass iRacing Series. Down the Daytona Superstretch for the final time tonight. Single file through the top 3. Ryan Smith gets up to the top side. What's going to happen out of turn number 4? John Kinder setting up for possibly a race-winning move out of the 4th corner at Daytona. Can he do it? Will he have help? No! John Kinder's going to stay in behind him. Ryan Smith hooks Wes Wiggins. He hangs onto it for 3rd, and Travis Miller goes back-to-back at Daytona. He wins once again in the season opener of the Bluegrass iRacing Series. It's a junk up behind him. How about that?
If you would have told me at that green flag restart that Travis Miller would have stayed in first place the entire way through there, I don't think I would have believed you. That was really impressive stuff out of the number 22 machine. that he held on. I was kind of expecting John Kinder to be a little aggressive there. Obviously, he tried to be smart, and he knows second place is better than 16th or 18th or wherever he would have finished if he had have turned around right there trying to get around Travis. But obviously well-deserved and very impressive stuff. Travis Miller ending last season off in front and picking it up again this season with first place here at Daytona.
Very, very surprised. They must have been working together. I don't think there's any other explanation for that. I am so surprised that John Kinder pushed Travis Miller back to the finish, but man, picking up right where he left off, not how I thought this race was going to go at all. Travis Miller is going to open the season back up with yet another Daytona victory, and everybody else, the other 42 drivers, are going to have to wait their turn here at Daytona. They are going to have to wait until next season for a chance to win here. I mean, that's it. Travis Miller is 2 for 2, much like his number 22 here at Daytona. That is just so incredible, the fact that he's able to go back-to-back at the same racetrack and wrap this one up once more. Incredible stuff out of the driver of the 22 car.
Yeah, and you just talk about Travis Miller having the skill to run at different types of tracks. So he's won at short tracks. He's won on 1.5-mile ovals. He's won here now twice at Daytona. Just knowing how to run different tracks, that's so crucial, and that's how you win championships. And then obviously on top of that, Travis Miller, just a patient driver, able to make it through time and put his car where he needs to be at the right moment. He's won plenty of races in his career, but certainly some of them are impressive enough in their right. And to be able to hold on for 2 laps from the green flag on that restart to the checkered, very impressive, very well-deserved victory.
And we'll be talking to the driver of the number 22 BRP iRacing Series, Gaston's Auto Sales, Bicknell Racing Products, Ford Mustang. Gee, I could be his PR guy, I'd say. We'll be talking to Travis Miller here shortly, along with the rest of the top 3, John Kinder, Wes Wiggin. It's going to be a wild one talking to these guys after the season opener here for the Bluegrass iRacing Series. Thank you, of course, for sticking with us through it. Thank you. I'm going to assume that you'll all stick with us for the next part, because this is something you do not want to miss, talking to each of these top 3 finishers just on the other side of a very quick post-race break.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
We welcome you back to the post-race scene now of the Daytona International Speedway. We just saw the season opener for the Bluegrass iRacing Series, now in their second season of competition. And surprise, surprise, that 22 car was fast all night long. I just don't know how this guy does it. We talk to him so often now here at PitStop TV. Travis Miller, you win another one.
Yeah, you know, it was pretty eventful for sure. I just gotta apologize for the 33 there. I guess you could say it was kind of a late block, but I mean, there's under 10 to go and you're the leader, so you gotta try and do everything you can to do. But it is what it is, and we'll move on to next week and see what happens.
Certainly, I mean, we talked to David Brackett there shortly during that caution period, and it seemed like he was not the happiest with the blocking. Granted, he's not Wyatt Brackett. How do you see that kind of thing? Because every driver sees blocking differently, and it really has just become part of Daytona Talladega racing.
Yeah, I mean, we got these big spoilers in the back and the new package that they got in iRacing. It makes it like you're gonna get such a big run on the outside, and I thought that Adam had a messed up front end or something, so he wasn't able to push me there because he didn't push me that entire run. So I just wanted to go up there and block it and see if we could both push each other and then be like under Adam there. But it just didn't play out that way, and I feel bad about it. But I mean, you got to do what you got to do in these things, and it is what it is.
So you open up season 2 not by dominating here at all. You only led a handful of laps. In season 1, a season ago, my bad there. You only led a handful of laps. You actually missed a wreck on the first lap because you decided to pull out of the front pack, and it happened right around where you were. Tonight, though, an entirely different story, and you end up leading 46 of 102 laps when it's all said and done. And you open this season back up with yet another race victory. I mean, I don't know if there's proper words to describe it all.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Hopefully we can keep it up this year and be a lot more consistent and just contend for wins every week. I guess that's what everybody wants to do, right? So we're just gonna try and do that. And I think at all these plate races, I think I've just made my mind up. I think I'm just gonna be aggressive and not drop back anymore on the starts. I think the more you can try and stay up front, the more you can kind of avoid stuff. But I guess plate racing is more of a luck game, and the luck was on our side tonight.
And so what happened there on that last restart coming out of turn 4? We were expecting John Kinder to make a move. Were you guys working together, or did he just decide to push you?
No, I think if Wes didn't have a messed up front end there, I think he would have tried to make the move, but I think he just didn't have the help to do it, and I think he didn't want to lose more spots, so he stayed in line. But I was definitely anticipating a run for sure, but it never came, and it eased my nerves. Let's just put it that way.
Absolutely. We certainly expected that to be much more fiery there towards the end of that last restart. But it's yet another win here for Travis Miller. Who do you have to thank? Who do you have to shout out this evening?
Yeah, I just got to thank Pat Reiser for what he did for me tonight. He was my spotter, and he made some really good calls for me up there. So got to thank him for all he does. Same with last season, he was my spotter there too. So thanks to him for spotting. Beef Esports, Corbin puts a lot into iRacing, and I'm glad to have be on the team with him. And the BRP iRacing Series, Spickno Racing Products, Gaston's Auto Sales, MDR Designs, and Splash and Go Graphics, and you guys for putting this on. It's always a good time.
And of course, thank you for your time, Travis. We're just going to keep saying it. Yet another race win for you. Incredible stuff here from Daytona.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
Travis Miller wins another one at Daytona International Speedway. But now we get to talk to the man who finishes runner-up in one of the more interesting finishes, I think, here at Daytona International Speedway in quite a while. Joe, I'll throw it down to you.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and pull John Kinder in. John, second place, not too shabby. Definitely a great way to start off the season here.
Yeah, not too bad. I mean, last season I finished dead last at Daytona, so a little bit better start to this season.
Yeah, and so we'll talk about just quickly the entirety of the race. Seemed like a big game of trying to stay clean, and you had a couple moments where you got a little bit of contact. We talk about how the damage on your car and the cautions that came out. How did you play and adjust accordingly throughout the course of the race to make sure you didn't lose too much time getting repairs and getting that car fixed up, but still be able to be fast?
Yeah, the first one, I don't know. I was pretty much stopped, and 5 minutes later I got hit from behind. So I don't know what that was all about, but that gave me a little bit of damage in the rear, and it didn't seem to be hurt me too bad. I was able to go to the front when I wanted to, but then another accident. Tried to avoid it and got hit again. And then the third one, it was too much. I had nothing couldn't really suck up on Travis there. So I just kind of had to ride behind him and take the finish.
And so we'll talk about that finish because we were coming out of turn 4 and you were right there behind Travis, and we were kind of expecting to see if you were going to jump out to the top side and make a run. You stayed in tow, and we thought that was very conservative but smart long term to stay in there. But what were you thinking out of turn 4 when you came to the checker?
Well, again, I knew I couldn't suck up real well. He drug the brake through 1 and 2 and got me back to his bumper, so I couldn't really make a run, and it just wasn't. I didn't have the car to really suck up to him and make a run, so I just took the points and go on to the next one.
Yeah, and so we're moving forward to the next race, and obviously you've got a really great chance to contend continuously for the championship in this effort. You ran very well throughout the course of last season, and you ended up being still eligible at the last race to win the championship. Are you still looking at a long-term strategy to try to stay in the championship hunt and just get consistent laps and get consistent points?
Yeah, I mean, points racing starts today, so coming to halfway, I was able to shuffle Travis off the out of line and gain a few points on him there to come to halfway, and I didn't want him to lead that, get an extra point there. He's already got 5 for winning the race, so you got to look at the points the whole time and make sure you get in that top 16. It's a whole new group of guys. There's going to be other people I'm sure are going to rise to the top, and you got to either win one or you got to point your way in. So points start now.
Absolutely. And quickly, yeah, you mentioned the new guys. How did you feel with the new rookie drivers in this Bluegrass iRacing series tonight? Do you think they ran pretty well and kept their composure good?
Yeah, I mean, we had a whole new group of guys, and they're trying to learn us. We're trying to learn them. And you could see a lot of the season 1 guys would get together on the racetrack and try to work together. We're just real familiar with each other. It'll get better as the season goes on, and I know there's some fast guys there. I worked with Alan Dobbs there, and I know we got together a little bit, but we worked pretty good together tonight. So there's some other good guys that are going to rise to the top, and it's gonna be fun.
Absolutely, John. So before we let you go for the evening to cool down and rest up, we'll give you the stage and the microphone. Anybody you want to thank, anything else you want to say here on the broadcast?
First off, I'd like to thank you guys for what you guys do, and thank Bluegrass Racing, and of course Rims One and Ghostface Brewery. They come on board and help us out. Anybody looking for tires and wheels or truck accessories, go on rims1.com.
Awesome stuff, John. So congratulations tonight, second place. Great way to start the season. Absolutely. And we'll be looking forward to continuing to talk to you throughout the course of this one.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
So there you have John Kinder, second place tonight. Very solid performance for him. We'll pull in third place, and I think this is the first time we get to talk to him on a broadcast, or at least in a while, is third place, Wes Wiggins. I'll hand it over to you, Andrew.
And Wes, it was certainly an up and down evening this tonight. words. Totally lost my train of thought. It was up and down. It was a roller coaster. Whatever joke you want to make about being up, then down, and up, then down, every which way. You come home third place. You have no front end of the car. The entire thing is beat up. And, I mean, that's got to be like Joe said right there. I think this is the first time we've had you in the top 3. This might be your best ever finish in the series.
Yeah, it's definitely my best that I've lucked into for sure. Got wrecked right there before I even took the green flag. Car was pretty much junk. I was just at the mercy of whoever would help me, really. The car wouldn't suck up to the car in front of me at all. I'd have to have somebody pushing me. So it was a long race, and I'm happy to finish where I was at for sure.
You mentioned that lap 1 incident, not even lap 1 for a lot of you guys for the back there. What happened from your end? What did you see?
And the green came out, and I saw some cars in front of me, rows in front of me checking up, shooting to the left and the right. So I lifted so I wouldn't run into the guy in front of me, and got ran into from behind. It was just a accordion effect. So.
And now, Wes, you were in the thick of things through most of this evening, and you were there for a lot of the lead battles. In fact, you were in the middle. I think you were the blockee of a lot of the blocks there from Travis Miller. What did you see from your end? I know there was the big incident into turn 1. We've been asking these guys, how do you feel about that? How do you see the blocking?
That's just this plate racing. I mean, you gotta take the runs where you get them, and you gotta slow them down when you can. It's just plate racing,
Hey, fair enough. And then we saw the end of the race right there. In fact, we just watched it back in slow-mo on the broadcast. Obviously, you're trying to figure something out with no front end on that race car. A lot of damage on every single corner of that thing, I think. What was the game plan? What were you trying to do? And really, was there anything you could do? And then also that save going into the tri-oval.
Yeah, the car was pretty much junk. I mean, like I said, it wouldn't pull up to the car in front of me unless I had somebody pushing me from behind. As bad as I wanted to help John, I just couldn't. And like he said, he was just trying to keep second for points, and I was really just trying to keep third for points. I knew the 91, he was going to try something, so I just tried to stay as close to John as I could. I kind of drifted up coming out of 4, and the 91 stuck it down in there, and I came back down, and I mean, that was all on me. He showed me a little mercy. He could have just kept me spinning around, but he got off of me. I was able to collect it. I thought I was going back to the outside wall, but I was able to keep it under me and come home third.
And, of course, talk about points. You actually end up collecting some stage points there at halfway. That's going to help you a lot, along with this third-place finish. And, of course, we now have that playoff format to worry about. How do you play into all of this, and what's the game plan moving forward?
Last year, I mean, I'm still fairly new on the asphalt stuff, so last year was a lot of learning. I feel like this year, or this season, going back to some of these tracks that we've been to, I feel pretty confident that I know how to run the races, how to run the tracks now. It's more strategy, trying to figure out the strategy. So hopefully we can keep ourselves up there and, be in contention for some points for sure.
So Wes Wiggin comes home third place, bronze on the podium. I'd say that's a pretty good night here for the Dirt Track Junkies. Number 88, Machine, who do you have to thank? Who do you have to shout out this evening?
Definitely got to thank my teammates at DTJ, Josh, Dan, and Dakota. I got to thank Charlie Milner with Milner Designs, Primetime Sports Talk, 41 Shocks, and my wife. She lets me do this. And thank you guys for putting on the broadcast, and thanks to everybody at Bluegrass.
Absolutely, Wes. We thank you and the rest of these drivers for showing up, putting on a show this evening. Congratulations on this third place finish. I'm sure we'll be talking to you more this season. and that is Wes Wiggin coming home third place tonight, Joe. That's certainly a big one for him and his very new season along with everybody else. Talk about that playoff format. It's going to change things up. It's no longer just a straight shot for the championship, 12 races with a drop week. It is now a true playoff situation where, you win and you're in. So Travis Miller, now he's into the playoffs. John mentioned that you can point your way in. Of course, there's only 12 races. Well, there's a 16 race season this season, and we'll have the schedule up for you next week at Las Vegas, or 2 weeks from now at Las Vegas, actually. So you have 12 chances, I believe, to win. And that means there are absolutely positions up for grabs rather based on point standings alone. So you've got a points race. If you might not win this season, or heck, there's a chance nobody else could win. Travis Miller could win all these races up to the playoffs. You've got to worry about points all season long, and you've got to make the most of it. So certainly these guys already thinking about every point they can grab.
Absolutely, and the playoff system really rewards big moves. It rewards victories very well. It's harder to fight your way in for points, but it's certainly possible. And I think that over the course of these regular season races leading up to that point where the cutoff happens, something consistent like what Wes Wiggins is doing. Obviously, if you can stay in the top 5 even just every race and tick them off, you'll make the playoffs. And that'll get you further into the championship, that you can start focusing on race wins. It's all about patience when you start playing that game versus winning races like Travis Miller's doing. And you're right, Travis Miller could win every race up to the beginning of the playoffs, and maybe that's even physically is possible for Travis Miller. He's a very good driver, very impressive stuff out on track. But Wes Wiggin right now set himself up very nicely, and obviously the big moments, the race victories, are what progress you forward and really pay off. But just being able to slowly tick them off and be patient with getting some solid results and staying consistent over the course of the season. If this is any precursor to the rest of his season, he could very easily be one of those drivers at the end of the season in the playoffs.
Absolutely. Every position in every stage, every race is going to mean a ton throughout the rest of the season. You see there at the bottom of your screen, the next race for these guys is Las Vegas. We got to wait until December 2nd to get there, and we'll see where these official or unofficial rather standings results will be as we go into a 2-week break, or 1 week break, 2 weeks until we have our next race. Travis Miller wins here at Daytona. John Kinder, second place. Wes Wiggin, we talked to all three of them already. Ronnie Shirk Jr. comes home in fourth place. Ryan Smith, a brand new driver to the series, he finishes in fifth. Nick Mills finishes sixth position, very fitting for the Mills Insurance Agency 250. Alan Dobbs finishes seventh spot, and it's Brandon Robertson. Gary Jazorski, a brand new driver to the series, along with Mitch Smith, rounding out the top 10.
The rest of the field coming up here, we're going to get 11th up on screen for you. Daniel Worthington made a lot of noise tonight, comes home 11th place. Solid evening. I think some improvement to be made, but definitely a good showing for him. David Brackett finished it off in 12th place. CJ Mason in 13th, Ryan Kendall in 14th. Some new names getting up into the top half of the field. Joshua Abbey made some noise tonight. Adam Lancaster pulls it together. He's 2 laps down in 16th. Alex Brown, kid from Indiana, in 17th. Nick Noggle comes home 18th, 4 laps down, along with Bryce Hunter in 19th. Brian Terry in 20th as well. Just a couple laps behind, but obviously just trying to get through these races.
We'll roll back to 21st, and it's Jack Bauer finishing in that spot, 9 laps down. A whole lot of these cars getting caught out by a lot of wrecks here at the end. Wyatt Brackett, 10 laps down, 22nd position. Michael Ogzet, one of the new drivers as well, in 23rd. Hunter Hulberg in 24th. Casey Barlow in that split design 51 car finishes 25th. Michael Brisson in 26th. Chris LeBourgeois, I picked him earlier on to win. Certainly was not a great pick, especially compared to your pick, Joe, as Travis Miller goes on to win. Matt Trineri, he finishes 28th, 30 laps down. Scott Fritz, 33 laps down. Matt Grenier finishes just inside the top 30, 34 laps down.
Yeah, so we'll bump it back to 31st. Tyler Reed, 38 laps down. Ed Osborne in 32nd, 43 laps down. Corby Daniels, 33rd. 34th was Brandon Young. Dakota Shepard in 35th. Doug Neal came home 36th, or at least ended up in 36th. Justin Winters, I was wondering about Justin Winters, why he wasn't making some noise, but evidently he only finished 13 laps and finished 37th. Nathan Maurer in the 97 had a tough start to this race, and it evidently shows, coming home in 38th. 39th was Adam Broyles, caught up in some stuff at the beginning of the race, along with Dennis Orff in 40th position, 99 laps down. John Elliott finished the race off in 41st, Cameron Parker in 42nd, and Dylan Butler rounding out your field. I think all these guys, they're shown more than 100 laps down, so these are the guys that were out of this race very, very early on in the race.
Yeah, and that first incident, as we came through the trial for the first time tonight, catching a lot of those guys off guard and, well, certainly stacking a lot of them up. It was certainly a really wild race here, Joe, and a really good way, I think, to open up the Bluegrass iRacing Series season. It was a rocky start for sure, but once we got going, it certainly put on a show just like every other race before it. That will conclude our coverage tonight, however, of the Bluegrass iRacing Series. We at PitStop TV thank you for tuning in and joining us for tonight's action. We hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. Be sure to join us again Sunday for the Superior Class Auto Racing Cup Series, there we go, at Auto Club Speedway, and then Monday for both the BRP iRacing Series at Williams Grove and the Northwest GT3 Challenge at the Nürburgring. Make sure to follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/PitStopTV, on Twitter at PitStopTV_, on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/Pit_Stop_TV, and on YouTube at www.youtube.com/C/PitStopTV1. For all of PitStop TV, Joe Donahue with me on the mic, Trey Shuttlesworth on social media, I am Andrew Cardinale IV. Thank you for watching, and have a great night.
Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.